Welcome to the Story and Critique stream, where we read stories from members of the community: fantasy, thriller, mystery, horror, comedy, and much, much more. So make sure to stick around. And if you want feedback on your story, submit now. I've done well over 200 live critiques on the stream. If you want to submit, the submission link is down in the YouTube submission box, and it will be queued up for our next Story and Critique stream on Saturday, March 22nd. So definitely keep it coming. Welcome. I'm Kauffman, and I'm on a mission to help the writers of the world with the process, lifestyle, and mindset that it takes to be an author. Because let's face it, writing a book takes time, it takes energy, it takes money. But with the community, with a daily writing community, it makes it that much easier. So make sure to come join us because we're starting right now. All right. So like I said, with the submission process, you can submit down in the Google Doc. It will just ask you a series of questions, just like title, author, pen name, and all that jazz. So that way I can get it queued up. I will prioritize first-time submitters, so that way we can welcome new writers to the community. But I also want to highlight and recognize a lot of our core community members who come back for more feedback, because I really appreciate it. So I'll always balance based on how many submissions we're getting. Now, let's move on to how we critique. For those of you who are new to the community, as you can see, I have the critique guidelines set up here. So I like to, when I look at a critique, I look into it for a couple different areas. I'm of the mindset that there are no bad critiques. I'm of the mindset that there are no bad critiques. It's like, let me adjust that. Awesome. So when I'm looking for a critique, I like to break it up into these 5 areas: character development, world building, dialogue, plot, or formally tone or style versus structure or grammar. Now, a lot of these stories that we're getting are still in an early draft of the story. So I don't really focus on grammar as much. There probably will be grammar opportunities, but that's just not a focus since we're at such an earlier stage of the writing development process. So when I see something, I'm like, all right, what area of creative writing does this fall into? And then it helps me better give feedback to the writer. So that's how we deal with the critique guidelines. Critique, I'm probably going to be highlighting it as well. Highlighting is neither a good nor a bad thing. That's just a way for me to keep track while I'm going through the critiques. I know what to touch on when I get back into it. So definitely do not worry. And most importantly, come join the conversation. We have writers of all different styles, all backgrounds, and all skill levels in the community. So whether you're here in the live community or if you're watching on the replay, I guarantee you the author is checking this stream out, and anything and everything is helpful. If there's something you liked, drop a comment. Why did you like it? If there's something that didn't make sense or it just didn't work well for you, why did it not make sense? Why did it not work? And then maybe adding what you might have done differently to help it. So many different ways. So come join the conversation, because it is so helpful when we are helping each other grow. Hey, what's up, Mike? Welcome to the stream. Absolutely, Mass. And I saw your like, subscribe, and share, and our ReadNow Discord. A great way to be able to be involved in the daily community. Thank you so much, my friend. And with that, let's get into the first critique. So I have queued up first. We're going to be doing Altered One, a mystery fantasy by author Lmae. Lmae, so happy to be able to hop into yours. I know I saw you here in the chat. So for those of you who don't know, we've touched on an earlier chapters of Lmae's in previous critique streams. I believe we did one in early January. It might have been early January, back in November, I believe. But we've definitely done a few. So I'm going to be queuing up with Lmae's. It is a murder mystery. Ooh, I'm excited. I always love mystery. So it's a fantasy mystery. And let's see. Perfect. All right, and I have it all queued up on my end with the critique guidelines for your benefit. Okay, here we go. So, and I have that. So, Lmae, we're going to be hopping right into yours. Okay, perfect. So I am all ready. Now let's see, was there any background? All right. So I know LeMay shared that they had received some from their readers, from the reader feedback so far, that some of the tone felt slightly off. So our goal here is, does the tone feel improved for a fantasy murder mystery? So let's see what we got. We're going to try to see if we can help out LeMay here and offer some advice. All right. Altered one. Chapter 3. Preparation. The following day, Ivan left his uncle's estate for the Inquis's inner palace, ruled by the main family. Located at the center of the Inquis's massive compound, very few outsiders or lower rank members were allowed in. He only went with his uncle for business and yearly celebrations. Ivan climbed up the stone palace steps and met two lower rank family members guarding the entrance. The older guard, who looked to be in his late 20s, stood proudly with the fiercest scowl he could manage. The younger guard was new and fidgeted in place out of pure boredom. He probably was from a remote branch and was just learning the ropes of being an inquisitor. Ivan had been there and done that. Guard duty was one of the dullest tasks he did as a newbie inquisitor. Even collecting overdue license fees from weavers was far more stimulating. Ivan gave his older, distant cousin a polite nod and another to his young partner, who stared back at him, perplexed. "Hello, cousins. Lady Inquis called for me." "She informed us. You may enter. Lady Inquis and young master are waiting for you in the outdoor courtyard." "Thank you." The eyes of the fledgling inquisitor continued to follow him until the grand palace doors closed shut. Then he heard the inevitable, "Who was that?" from him. But Ivan didn't stick around to hear the older guard explain his backstory. He made his way to the outdoor courtyard. There, Lady Inquis and a raven-haired man, 1 year his senior, enjoyed the shade of a golden persimmon tree. On the On the wooden table where they sat was a strange metallic contraption. It looked similar to the broken device he saw in the crime scene photos. The object was about 10 to 15 inches and 3 inches deep. It consisted of a pronged ball-tipped grid. At the base were two buttons and a knob. Ivan spotted the case of the Etherean gloves under the table. Lady Inquis greeted him with a smile. "Ivan, darling, nice to see you bright and early today. Corbin will be assisting me throughout your training. Do you remember him? He was away at the capital with his father for a couple of years." Ivan looked at the well-built man clad in black, padded clothing with sharp, refined features and a piercing, stern gaze of a hawk. Corbin resembled more of his uncle than himself. Ivan's features were slightly softer, lighter, and worst of all, he was shorter compared to Inquis's brethren, and his cousin annoyingly reminded him of that fact throughout their childhood. "Yes, I remember. Welcome back, cousin." "Master," Corbin corrected him proudly. Ivan scoffed. "Assistant, you mean. You're here to help Grandaunt." Lady Inquis's giggle prevented Corbin from returning a buttle. She then adjusted her monocle and sternly reported, "Ivan, he is still your superior and family heir, so be respectful and address him as senior." "Yes, Lady Inquis." She rose from her chair and handed Ivan a folder. "Lady Penny Royal informed us that your alias will be Matthias Meinradler, an orphan born in a poorhouse to a miller woman who died during birth, then raised in an orphanage located in the province of Dolva until you were adopted by bookkeeper Mr. Hart and his wife at age 6. When you turned 12, you were sponsored by Lady Pennyroyal when a military recruiter came to your school and informed her of your heritage. Memorize it well." Ivan read over the details of his fake profile. Matthias Meinradler. Wouldn't it make more sense if I was given an alias that was not tied to the Meinradler name? They have less than 5 members. Anyone who knows that family will figure out who I am. Yes, I brought that issue up, but she says that alias will make you an undesirable target for the murder. Although it brings up another issue, Winston's adopted son is a professor there. She handed Ivan a photo of his estranged adopted brother. If Whitley Meinradler gained some more muscle and removed his glasses, he could have been his older doppelganger. My dad's adopted son? Ivan felt betrayed by this sudden revelation. He actually is your older cousin. Meinradlers live short lives. Very few reach the age of 40. Nonetheless, he will be there and you will come in contact with him. Prepare yourself for when he finds out who your father was. It may only become a problem if he finds out you're an Inquis. Our presence makes weavers antsy. As a backup, Lady Pennyroyal promises to help plant Sully in as a staff member. Understood. Ivan sighed and hoped his long-lost cousin would continue to ignore him. Good. Now for the other issue. She gave Ivan the metal case after he turned the documents. You will have to pass an entrance exam. There is a written portion which can be fudged, but the technical portion will be observed by the Academic Board of Weavers. Will there be at least someone on the board who will pass me through? No, but Lady Pennyroyal claims the technical exam for the device program is a dumbed-down version of the standard test due to the current limitations of the glove. They're looking to the candidate's proficiency with the device. You will need to successfully perform 3 patterns: 1 low-rank defense pattern, 1 mid-level offensive pattern, and a mid-level elemental pattern. She turned to Corbin. He is yours now. Lady Inquis returned to her seat and laced her fingers. Corbin left his chair and stretched. All right. Now for your first weaving lesson. We already tested the gloves before you got here, and I have to warn you, they are finicky. In what way? You'll find out soon enough. Ivan opened the case and slipped the glove onto his right hand. Corbin took the container away from him before he attempted to put on the second glove. Don't bother. Most weavers stick to using their dominant hand. He returned the case to its place underneath the table. Ivan followed Corbin to the section of the courtyard, near a row of weavers training dummies from aether-resistant material. Corbin aimed his pointer finger at the dummy. The first step is learning how to gather aether from the atmosphere. Weavers call it threading aether. This should be easy because aether is everywhere and the aether heart does it innately. But it isn't? Precisely. Corbin's fingers began to glow a light yellow color. And that is because you are forcing your body to draw in more aether than it normally would, and then redirect it to a single point. Natural expulsion of aether is back through the pores. Corbin stopped, threading aether, and the glow around his finger disappeared. A weaver must be cautious when threading aether. Drawing too much in can overload your aether heart, and carelessly shooting too much out can lead to some nasty injuries. I've seen some reckless novice weavers blow their hands off. Why can't I have Sully's post? Quit your whining. Your aether heart are those crystals, so if you mess up, they will blow up in the glove and not inside of you. Also, they can't draw in the same amount of aether as an aether heart can. So no big explosions, but it will knock you down on your butt. Corbin sounded too excited to say that last part, and Ivan made it his priority to prevent that from happening. Corbin continued. Your gloves have pressurized buttons on the thumb inside of your middle fingers. So when you point and press those 2 buttons together, it will trigger the mechanisms in the gloves to draw an aether. Now, try it. Ivan did as Corbin instructed, and the pointer finger of the glove began to glow. Good. Now maintain that amount of pressure and follow me. Corbin's threaded aether, and he drew a square-shaped pattern of light in the air. The pattern then formed into a shield of light that enveloped him. Ivan attempted to do the same, but heard a loud bang and was knocked backwards off his feet. Corbin snickered. You press too hard on the buttons. Remember, they are pressurized. Press too hard, you will draw in too much aether and blow the crystals. Press too soft, nothing will come out. You will also have to adjust your pressure as you draw the pattern, especially around bends. Ivan got back on his feet and tried again. He slowly drew the pattern, but the end of the glowing thread of Aether began to disappear. You're going too slow. Faster. Ivan quickened his movements, but the shimmering thread began to wobble. The pattern became unstable, and Ivan was knocked back again. This is such a pain. Lady Inquest chimed in while writing her notes. Ivan, remember your calligraphy lessons. It helps. I barely got a C in penmanship. Ivan never cared for that class, neither did his uncle. Everyone could understand that he wrote, so it was good enough for him. If he needed to make an official document, he'd just use a typewriter. Corbin gave him a smug smile. A C is average. You can manage average. Try again. Over the course of a few days, Ivan finally got the hang of drawing the pattern, and then decked Corbin in the nose when he learned from Lady Inquest that they skipped a step, and there was an easier way. Now you will learn how to use an Aetherian loom to practice patterns. The two of them stood before the metallic contraption on the table. Since you mastered Aether Shield, Corbin stifled a laugh while Ivan crossed his arms, still indignant at Corbin for toying with him. I'll teach you how to do the bread and butter of offensive weaver skills. Aether Arrow. He presented Ivan with a diagram of the pattern on a grid. The letters and numbers corresponded with the ones in the Aetherian loom. Weavers use this to memorize and practice patterns. It is simple. Plot the coordinates on the grid while maintaining the correct amount of Aether. Watch. Corbin hit the button on the loom. He gathered Aether from his pointer finger, and he touched the device's metal prong. He attached a thread of energy on the point of the grid and created a simple square pattern of interlocking threads. When he was done, the pattern shimmered on the loom. See? Easy. There's no risk of kickback. If you miscast, the pattern on the loom will disappear without consequence. Good to know. Bitterness was still in his voice. And all right. Corbin placed his hand on his shoulder. When you're done learning all three patterns, I want to prepare you for some Weaver combat. The murderer might avoid you because of your Mind Rattler heritage, but the other noble Weavers who got there might view you as easy pickings. The Mind Rattlers are one of the three great Weaver families. Sure, but they're dwindling in power, and there are other families who want to usurp their position. He hunched over to Ivan's ear and whispered, and they will happily bully you to get it. You better not give them that opportunity. That is my job. Ivan pushed him away. Got it, Senior Pissant. Make sure you absorb everything you can during these 2.5 months. Corbin smiled as Ivan diligently practiced the patterns he was going to perform on the entrance exam. All right, and that is the reading. Awesome. So I was actually really happy with how that reading came out. What I really appreciated, I love the character development. I'm actually such a fan of how the characters worked out in that. I feel like when I think about what elements were my favorite, I was really intrigued by the magic of the world building. I don't think I quite understood it, but I also saw Lmae said this more of a chapter explaining the magic system. So I think I have a couple of there's a couple of questions that come to mind when we go through it because I want to touch upon the magic. I'm very intrigued by it though. I'm very intrigued. The character development, I feel like our protagonist, we do get some good character development. I think I liked Lady Inquest, was it? I liked Lady Inquest the most. Was definitely the most intriguing character of them to me. And the dialogue was good. Where it's at right now, it could of course be cleaned up, but I think for this draft, I think it's fine where it needs to be. The dialogue didn't feel too distracting for me. However, there was a huge opportunity with dialogue tags. There were a couple times in the beginning where I wasn't quite certain who was speaking, and I'll touch on that when I get into it. The plot itself was great. So I think actually the plot was my favorite because I was kind of intrigued. I'm like, okay, you've set up all this intrigue and mystery into okay, he's breaking into this secret school of some type and to do a thing. This scene kind of felt like that scene in like a James Bond, in like a James Bond scene where James Bond is getting all the tools at the beginning of it and he's learning the gadgets, how to do them, so that way he can go undercover. I don't know why it totally gave me that type of vibe for some reason. So I would say tonally or stylely, it does feel, let's see, okay, tonally, does it feel, it definitely feels fantasy. That's not in question. Does it feel like a mystery? it kind of goes back and forth. I think the concept of what he's about to do feels mysterious, but the present moment, there's no real mystery in the present moment. And I actually think there's an easy adjustment and tweak to actually play into the mystery of this moment here. So let's get into it. So when I'm looking at the story itself, let's hop in. All right. So essentially, we have Ivan is going to his uncle's estate. All right. So on this one, right? So we have Ivan going here up the steps. Ivan gave his older distant cousin a polite nod and another to his young partner, who stared back at him perplexed. Hello, cousins. Lady Inquis called for me. Okay. So now that I think about it, I'm like, was that clear? Because technically, okay, here's why I got thrown off. So guard duty was one of the dullest tasks he did as a newbie inquisitor. So we set up the guards here. Guard desk was one of the dullest tasks he did as a newbie inquisitor, even collecting overdue license fees from weavers, farmers stimulating. Ivan gave his older distant cousin a polite nod and another to his younger partner, who stared back at him perplexed. Hello, cousins. Lady Inquis called for me. No, actually, I mean, I think that's all right. I think that actually might be all right. That's probably just because I was doing a live reading. Because the following, the older guard looked in his late 20s. The younger guard was now fidgeted. Okay, so now, okay. I know where the confusion is. So you refer to them as guards. You refer to them as an older guard and a younger guard. But then in this next paragraph, you refer to him as an older distant cousin and a younger partner. That was really confusing to me. You want to refer to them by the same thing because then I was like, oh, okay, so was there 4 people standing there or was there 2 people? I get that he's going to a family estate, but just because the entrance doesn't mean that there's family out front. For all I know, those are like hired bouncers or hired guards essentially. That didn't necessarily mean they were cousins. So I would just say make sure that you're using the same language when referring to characters, just so you don't chance losing the reader. And I think then this will be fine because I think I was trying to picture like, okay, how many characters? Once I've got that, then I won't have a problem with this dialogue tag. She informed us he might enter. Yep. Persimmon. For some reason, I thought persimmon might be spelled wrong. But I think I was just tripping. Persimmon. No, persimmon's right. Persimmons are good. Okay, and then I like the setup. So I think the initial intrigue of this area is actually really cool. You give this description of on the there they set a strange metallic contraption, looks similar to the broken device you saw in the crime scene photos. And I know you've already set that up previously. Consisted of a pronged ball tipped grid, and the base were 2 buttons and a knob. Ivan's part of the case of the Therian gloves. And I know in previous chapters you've already given us some descriptions for items like that. So if we should already have previous context and a picture for what this device looks like. Just from this description, the broken device on the object was about 10 by 15 inches and 3 inches deep. It consisted of a pronged ball-tipped grid. Okay, and at the base were 2 buttons and a knob. Ivan's part of the case of the Therian gloves underneath the table. I think that's fine. It looks about 10 to 15 inches deep. Strange. So it's a metallic contraption, 10 to 15 inches. So it's a metallic contraption about this. So it's like a screen, consists of a pronged ball-tipped grid. So it's like a metal screen with 2 buttons on it. That's essentially what it is. It's like a metal screen with 2 buttons on it. And a knob, 2 buttons and a knob. So I was like, I think that's enough of a picture, but essentially it's just like a screen. I might just clarify this a little bit more. If the object's important, which I think it is the thing that they use in a little bit. Now, this was all good. Lady Inquis, once again, Lady Inquis was my favorite. And I think Lady Inquis was my favorite because she was the clearest, and I think I was the most on board with her character type. And I think that's why I actually liked her the most. Looked at the well-built man in black padded clothing with sharp features and a piercing, stern gaze. Corbin resembled more of his uncle than himself. Ivan's features were slightly softer, lighter, and were slightly shorter compared to his cousin, knowing that. All right, so Corbin is his cousin, not his uncle. Okay. So Corbin, Ivan and I currently assist me. Do you remember? Hey, he was away with his father for. Looked at the well-built man clad in black with a sharp and a piercing. Corbin resembled more of his uncle than himself. I would just clean up that line. Corbin resembled more of his uncle than himself. Who, Corbin's uncle or Ivan's uncle? This is just me being an editor. I would just clarify that. Features are slightly softer. And then I wasn't sure whose dialogue this was. And I think this is what threw me off. I think this needs a dialogue tag because we're kind of starting a conversation. I know Lady Inquis is here, but yes, I remember. I wasn't sure if this was Corbin speaking or if this was Ivan. So I would just, because we're about to go back and forth, I would clarify it here is the most important. Now, like I look here, it's Corbin, but just so you don't chance losing the reader, I would do an Ivan speech tag. Master Corbin, correct. Ivan Scott, assistant. You mean you're here to help Grandon prevent Corbin from returning? That's funny. She's telling, even though he's a cousin, but not an uncle. Okay, and I think I was okay. So like, I wanted to like Corbin, but I was trying to get a sense of him. So like, when you set Corbin up, you describe Corbin as a well-built man, but then you refer to him as an appearance with his uncle. So then it's like, okay, so is he older or is he younger? Prevent Corbin from returning. She then adjusts her monocle. He is still your superior and a family heir, so be respectful and address him as senior. Yeah, so he is older. So yeah, I wouldn't compare Corbin to the uncle because uncle assumes older, right? I would make another comparison because we want Corbin to appear like he's older then, if that's the case. But I did like the setup, so I thought this was good. Lady Ivan, once again, I love. She rose from return, handed Ivan a folder. So with this, so essentially we're doing exposition here to set up the mystery of this mission he's about to embark on. I think what I might do, so this chunk doesn't feel quite so exposition-y. What I might do is I might cut it down by about a sentence or two, and then have Ivan summarize it here when he's reading over the file. Like, oh, he recognized, like, oh, bookkeeper to Mr. Hart, only because this part, it just feels expositioning. Some readers might be fine with it. Some readers might get annoyed of it. Readers don't like to feel like they're being given exposition, but you could get away. So this is just a subjective suggestion. Let's see. Oh, this is good. She handed Ivan a photo of his estranged adoptive brother. Yep. And I like this. She handed Ivan a photo of his estranged adoptive brother. If Whitley Mindrather gained some more muscle and removed his glasses, he could have been his older doppelganger. I actually like this. The plot point with the brother that he might run into is actually really interesting to me, and I think really played into the mystery of the plot. So I think all that with the adopted brother was good. I think the setup, I think the potential obstacles worked for me, and then this test that he's now going to have to pass. All right, so weavers call it threading. So okay, so when he's describing how Aether works, I was trying to get on board. So this should be easy. So essentially, he has a glove. This should be easy because Aether is everywhere. So it's like the Force, right? Midichlorians is everywhere. So Aether is everywhere, and the Aether heart does it innately. I don't know what Aether heart means. That kind of confused me, unless you've already explained it earlier in the story. Drawing too much and can overload your Aether heart. So the Aether heart is the item. So the item is the Aether heart. So the glove is the Aether heart. From Corbin aimed at the dummy. It's learning how to gather Aether from the weavers call it threading Aether. So the glove is the Aether heart. Drawing too much in can overload your Aether heart, and carelessly shooting too much out can lead to some nasty injuries. I've seen some reckless novices. Your Aether heart are those crystals. So if you mess up, they will blow up in the glove and not inside of you. Okay, so I think what I would do is I think I might explain the crystals first, because I was confused when you mentioned the Aether heart previously. That threw me off. So I think because the glove thing, like the glove makes sense, right? You put the glove on, you can manipulate Aether if you're strong enough. Your Aether heart are those crystals. If you mess up, they will blow up in the glove and not inside of you. Also, they can't draw in the same amount of Aether as an Aether heart can. Wait, your Aether heart are those crystals. Wait, so the crystals are the Aether heart, but amount of Aether as an Aether heart. So, all right. So I think you just have to clarify what is an Aether heart, because you're saying also they can't draw in the same amount of Aether as an Aether heart, but you just said the crystals are an Aether heart. So I think it just needs some additional clarity on what that means specifically. But I understand like the mechanics and the logistics of it. Like I understand, right? Like, okay, you put on the glove, you can manipulate Aether, and it's powered by these crystals. And if he f's up, the crystals will explode instead of his hand, right? Like I understand the mechanic of it. Okay, cool. So Lmae, if you've already explained it, then no worries. Totally no worries. Since we're in chapter 3, beautiful. No worries then. Um. Yeah, and I think that's always important to recognize, right? Because I'm like, chapter 3, we're still pretty early on in the story. So it's like sometimes it could be missed, but it sounds like sounds like you've already set up what it means then. Let's see, I've made this to prevent that from happening. And I think this is good. I think this is like a training montage type sequence. So I think all of that worked out well. You see his average over the course. And then I think like with the rest of it, now you learn how to use an Aetherian loom. I know you already set up an Aetherian loom earlier in the story. Basically, he's learning like the more advanced power. So I think the biggest opportunity to elevate the murder mystery side of it is making so there's definitely tension between Ivan and Corbin. I think there should be an additional questioning from Ivan. Is Corbin involved in whatever the murder mysteries of the world? Like, or like why is there such a level of distrust? And I think you could play into that a little bit more to add this like murder mystery type intrigue to the world. Why doesn't Ivan trust Corbin? Why does Corbin kind of act like a jerk? I don't know. And I'm not sure if it's because they kind of have a backstory or they don't. It feels like this next plot point, that him infiltrating the school, like I'm all for that with the murder mystery. That's interesting. This chapter doesn't feel like it's like a murder mystery as much, because this feels more like it's like training montage to get ready for the murder mystery. So, but that's not necessarily a good or a bad thing. That's really just your personal preference and what you want the vibe to be. This feels like this is getting ready for him to go embark into the murder mystery side of it. And I know chapter 1 was a huge murder mystery. I don't think we've done chapter 2. So that's not necessarily a bad thing if you're wanting to tonally balance out different chapters. But just something to think about. If you do want to play up the mystery side in this chapter, I would play up the tension between Corbin and Ivan and their distrust, and then leave clues for the reader actually based off dialogue or based off some just interiority on why Ivan doesn't trust Corbin or why Corbin's acting the way he is. So, yeah, that's all that I got for you, my friend. Hopefully that helped. Wonderful, wonderful. But Lmae, I'm like such a fan of your story. Like, let me just clarify this. So I gave you a decent amount of feedback for in that review, but I'm really intrigued by the story. As a fantasy fan, I would definitely read this. Like, I know we've gone through the one chapter. So I think this is the second chapter we've gone through, I believe. Yeah, I think this is the second chapter, but I'm definitely a fan of it. So definitely good luck, keep writing, and good luck with the journey, my friend. And definitely feel free to resubmit later chapters. I'm looking forward to when the draft is done. I'm really curious to see how it turns out because this is a really interesting world. I love the idea of Aether. I think Aether is such a cool idea. I'm such a fantasy nerd. Y'all know me. And I love magic systems. I love learning like new magic systems and understanding how does the magic system interact with the world. So the more magic for me is always a plus for me personally, whether it's considered a soft, a hard, or a soft magic system. I'm a fan of all types. Courtney, I did like that comment. I saw Lmae, you called out to it. I don't normally read this genre, but does everyone need to be related? I feel like I need a chart or to make one to get everyone connected. And Courtney, you're like, normally no. In this story, there are many noble families. I should include a chart of the families. You know what I think about with this story? The interconnectedness of all the families feels like Game of Thrones. It kind of feels like that same structure of that a focus of the world of this story is there's so many different families. And I think I would say take a similar approach to how they did it with Game of Thrones, where how they had like the different houses and really how are the different houses symbolized or how the different families symbolized. Um, and I think a family chart could definitely help. But I think you have to clarify for the reader if you do like a family tree type of thing, then how do we differentiate each of the different families? Yeah, and especially for new readers, like what makes a family stand out. And I think that could definitely really help. That'd be like a cool image. That'd be like a cool image to set. Like you could create that. You can make it as like a standalone image, sell it as like a merch, or include it in the book itself. Do like a picture that has all the different family. Like maybe it's like the faces of the family members, or maybe it's just the family clans or whatever you want to do. But that's really, really cool. I'm all for that. Courtney, you're like, I'm excited to see how it develops and if the estranged brother is a problem. He is definitely going to be a problem. I think we can all agree that any guy named Corbin is probably might be a problem in this type of context. Okay, dokie. So, Lmae, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for submitting that, my friend. We're actually going to be hopping into next. I'm going to queue up Born in Agony. It's a fiction short, it's a a flash fiction piece by author Veiking. So, Veiking, I'm going to be queuing up your story in just a moment. But if you're enjoying the stream, follow and subscribe. We're here every day with the ReadNow community. 430 consecutive streams and counting. But if you're looking for a daily writing community with writing sprints, critique streams, author interviews, book club, contests, conventions, conferences, and all that jazz, then this is the place to be. So make sure you tap that follow or subscribe button right now. All right, my friends. So very, very awesome. I was really happy with that. How's everyone doing? What do you guys think? So we just got our first story. I am oof. I'm gonna just take a little breather for just a moment. Ah, is when you I'm curious actually, a question comes to mind. So when you're hearing other stories, does it give you ideas for your own storytelling? Like whether there's like, oh, this thing works or this thing doesn't. I would love to hear from you. Drop, I guess like now I can point here. Technically, if you're on a phone, it's down here. But if you're here, I was like, drop a comment. And I was like, here, we'll go here. No, we'll go here. There we go. Drop a comment and let me know. Do you get ideas from different stories? and maybe you get some great ideas, maybe you get some bad ideas. I don't know. I would love to hear from you. I know for me, when I'm reading through different types of authors' stories, and especially for Scarecrow, like sometimes it makes me question, like, oh, am I doing those like dialogue tags correctly? Or am I it challenges like my understanding with different characters' dialogue, or sometimes it challenges like world building aspects, or then I'm like, oh, is my plot sound? And it just, yeah. And I think one of the coolest parts about this type of stream is that being able to see different stories in different parts of the process and different skill levels really makes us improve as writers. And I think that's actually really, really cool. Yeah, I completely agree, Mast. You're like, Mast, have to check out the other 2 chapters. Yeah, and I think Lmae, what I would recommend, like Lmae, you can probably, I was like, I know we did the first chapter, I just don't know how long ago it was. But and I guess this is a call out for anybody. If you ever want to check out previous episodes of the critique stream, there are like the reading sprints for storytellers playlist is linked down in the YouTube description. But every single video after the replay goes up, I add the time code, and then in the description you can see which stories that were read during that stream. So for any writers who ever want to go back and see previous streams or previous story readings, you can just go into the description, you can see which stories I read, and then you can hop directly to that part of the video. So it's a great way if you like if you hear a story excerpt and you're like, hey, I kind of like that, I want to see previous excerpts of it. So yeah, good call out, Courtney. You're like, it helps me see how I can improve my writing style or how to fix issues I found sometimes. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like there's definitely truth to that because we're seeing like such a variety of writing styles. I would completely agree with that. Okay. So great question. Let me hop into the next one. Cordy, I totally went back when I was editing falling. Oh man, I know we could be editing, working on a stuff forever, right? Same here. I find it so interesting seeing how other people write differently, and then as writers, guys, we pick up different things that we like, right? We pick up different things and then we can take them back into our own style. We're like, oh, you know what? That one writer, they like to phrase words in a certain way. Maybe I could play around with something like that and add that as another layer of complexity. Or there's been stories where it's like, oh, that's an interesting character. What if I did a character with a similar personality, but I did it in a different setting? Right? And there's so many different takeaways that are so inspirational and so intriguing. Ooh, Mass, that's a really great idea, actually. How about having a place in Discord to help find past episode of stories? Interesting. Yeah, I mean, you know what's interesting is I guess I could actually add. I mean, the story and critique stream is pretty popular. I guess I could always add a Discord channel for the story and critique stream specifically. Um, yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I don't think I would have time to be able to link to each of the different types of stories at this point in time. But if any of the authors ever wanted to like find their episodes, I think like you can go back, like all of the episodes are in a playlist, the reading sprints for storytellers, and the authors, like you guys can go back and you can find the episodes and then you could link them. So like I think that would totally work. In a perfect world, if I was much further along and I had an assistant or a team, I'd be like, okay, all right, let's go back and link each of these episodes. In a perfect world. But I think what that does say is maybe we need like a Discord channel for the critique stream. That could actually be really cool. That could be really, really cool. That's a good idea, Mast. All right. Excellent. And let's get into it. So we're going to be doing Born in Agony. And let's cue this up. All right, so Veiking, Born in Agony, whether you're watching this on the live or on the replay. So this one's going to be a little shorter. This is a flash fiction piece. And what Veiking shared was that this was based off a 15-minute prompt. So this was based off a 15-minute prompt challenge that they embarked upon. So it's going to be a little shorter, but I think that's actually kind of intriguing. I was like, 15 minutes is a short amount of time to write something. Master like that. Definitely needs a Discord for the critique show. I agree. I'll take that into consideration, my friend. All right, so I got it queued up here. So this is a 15-minute prompt called Born in Ashes. No, oh no, did I say that right? Born in Agony. Born in Agony. Born in Agony by author Veiking. The smoke was heavy as Artan opened his eyes. He breathed in heavily as the air filling his lungs seemed to burn them. He struggled to support himself. His arms shook with pain as he pushed himself up against the whetstone. Ah! A sharp pain shot through his right side as he stood upright. He looked down and saw that a large piece of metal had embedded itself in his stomach. He gripped it tightly as he let his gaze wander upwards. His face contorted as he took in the scene before him. The Pandora, the ship that had carried him and his sister safely across the galaxy for years, now lay in ruins across an open plain on the foot of the mountain where he himself seemed to have landed. Towering over her was a figure of flax, which had attacked her as she landed. To Ayrton, his forearms seemed like hundreds through the shimmering air. His claws continued to tear apart the remains of the ship in search of food. Mina. Ayrton narrowed his eyes in pain, and his face contorted in agony at the thought of his sister, who had been torn apart in front of his eyes by the flax's attack a few moments before. His hand slid to the pommel of the sword, which hung pulsating from his belt. I know I promised you, but... He gripped the hilt of the sword, and a searing, incomparable pain shot up his arm, like a wave of fire coursing its way through his veins. He had promised Mina never to use that weapon again, but that promise had died with her. The only thing he could think about now was revenge. A deep voice thundered through his mind. Ha 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 ha! Finally! So after all these years, you're releasing me again? Ayrton struggled against the presence that tried to take over his mind. No, he replied, I won't release you, but you will be of use to me just this once. He opened his eyes again and stared hatefully at the beast that was still rummaging through the rubble of Pandora. We'll see, the voice of the sword replied as it warped Ayrton's body. Ayrton screamed in pain as his bones deformed, breaking through his skin and breaking the armor he wore on his back. From them sprouted feather-like appendages, each one sharper than any blade ever created by man. Oof! With a blood-curdling scream, Ayrton leapt forward, reinforced by the momentum of his inhuman wings. He darted towards the flax as if it was aware of his presence, and like an insect drawn to light, drawn to his life force, it opened its massive mouth, and bundles of pure energy shot out of its throat towards Ayrton. They hit him, tearing apart his limbs, but he continued to charge recklessly straight ahead. The sword's power knit his flesh back together as soon as it was torn by the flax's attacks. With a loud scream, he swung the weapon that slowly took possession of his mind, and with a power that seemed inappropriate to this reality, he severed the beast's head from its shoulders. He fell exhausted to the ground, about to pass out, when the voice thundered through his head again. Was it worth it? Yes, he replied before his strength left him and he collapsed, unconscious. All right, here we go. So wow, what an interesting story. Oh my goodness. Like what an interest. So first off, I have to commend you, right, for doing a a short 15-minute prompt. I think you had a clear beginning, middle of, and an end. There was definitely a couple of areas that could be cleaned up for sure, but being able to craft a plot that felt like beginning, middle, and end in such a short accomplishment while still having a core character with a strong motivation, I thought that was cool. There was a couple of really clear images. There's a couple of really clear imagery from the moment. It was such a cool style. It was such a cool style, Viking. So, like, definitely thank you so much for submitting that. That was actually really cool. When I think about what I liked from it, let's pull this up. So, when I think about what I liked, I would say character development was definitely my favorite. The character development was so on point. The dialogue was sure. I didn't have too many problems with the dialogue, but I think the plot and the character development were absolutely my favorite. And I think also, like, you had a really unique style. I think what was interesting was that you have a unique writing style, and it came across in a 15-minute prompt. It's hard to do that for a lot of writers. And you have a way of using imagery to kind of paint this picture, and I thought it was very well served. So, very, 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 very cool. Thank you so much for sharing that. Hey, what's up, Itchy? Welcome, welcome, my friend. We actually just finished a story reading. We're doing a critique right now. So let's hop into this. So you guys can see one of the things that I really liked about this story, and we'll go into the full, let's do that one. That was good. So one of the things that I liked about this story, beyond the fact that it was only 15 minutes, right? So you had a really strong opening for this. The smoke was heavy as Ayrton opened his eyes. So clearly you can tell he crash landed on a planet. I was like, okay, a little exaggerated, but that's fine. I'm not going to complain about that. That works. Clearly he's on a planet, a sharp pain. This is all good. You can tell he got into a crash. The Pandora. What an interesting name, right? Like when you hear Pandora, generally you're probably going to think of Pandora's box, possibly, but Pandora as being something like something that could be something contained that could be very powerful. So I actually liked that the Pandora was the ship name. And sister towering over her. Okay, so the only thing I would have addressed was the way you were referencing her, the pronoun here, only because you had referenced the Pandora, the ship had carried him and his sister. Towering over her was the figure of Flax, which attacked her as she landed. To Ayrton, his forearms seemed like hundreds. His claws continued to tear apart the remains of the ship in search of food. Okay, so yeah, so this is towering over his sister, and the Pandora, the ship had carried him and his sister. So I think if you were to edit this, I would just clarify that her is referring to the sister, only because like sometimes people refer to ships and vehicles as with pronouns. So just so there's no mix up there, but that definitely makes sense, right? Towering over her was the figure of Flax, which had attacked her as she landed. To Ayrton, his 4 arms seemed like hundreds. So Flax is like weird alien thing with 4 arms. It's actually kind of cool. That's actually kind of cool, actually. So Mina and Ayrton, I'm good with the name choice. I know I promised you. He gripped the hilt of the sword, and searing, incomparable pain shot up his arm. So clearly he's been damaged from the crash. But I love this. He had promised Mina never to use that weapon again, but that promise had died with her. Yes, 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 yes. What a great moment, right? So you could have literally said in the beginning that she died, but you saved it here and it wasn't direct. He had promised Mina never to use that weapon again, but that promise had died with her. What an excellent way of using a show, not a tell. Congratulations, my friend. That is such a very great intent here. So, and whenever writers are able to do a show versus a tell very well in a way that doesn't feel like it's on the nose is I always have to call out because that's how you do it. And now it makes his motivation so it makes it clear. A deep voice thundered through his mind. Ha ha ha, finally. So after all these years, you're releasing me again. So just as a side note, and this is for anybody here in the stream. So anytime anybody speaks in your mind, right? So let's say you have, and this is like an enchanted object. So you never want to use dialogue unless a character is physically speaking. If a character is not or verbally saying something from their mouth, it does not go in dialogue. Dialogue is any time a verbal word is said. The reason being is because I know what you're saying, right? The character is speaking in the mind. There's another way to go about this. There's a couple of stylistic ways to do this. So a deep voice thundered through his mind. One way you could do this is you could go through italics. A deep voice thundered through his mind. Ha ha ha, finally. So after all these years, you're releasing me again. So you could do this. Or you could also make it part of the sentence instead of using the oh my god, why am I blanking? Colon. Oh my goodness. Well, I was like blanking on what colons were called. I'm like, wow. So instead of using colons, a lot of writers would probably use a comma like this. So then you can use the comma, and now this reads. So a deep voice thundered through his mind. Ha ha ha, finally. So after all these years, you've released me again. This is probably one of the most popular ways of using italics for an entity, for anything that's like a mind conversation. You could always make it its own paragraph as well each time if you really wanted to make it stand out, but I would just say that over the dialogue. So, Ayrton struggled against the presence that tried to take over his mind. No, he replied, I won't release you. But this is good. He opened his eyes again, stared hopefully. All right, so we have Ayrton. Now this voice is talking to him. Well, this this beast Flax is basically destroying what's left of his ship. Let's see. We'll see. The voice of the sword replies that warped Ayrton's body. Like, literally, all right, guys, I'm gonna have to read this again because this is such a crazy moment. Like, this made me kind of shiver. I'm like, dang, good for you, man. Good job of description. We'll see. The voice of the sword replied as it warped Ayrton's body. Ayrton screamed in pain as his bones deformed, breaking through his skin and breaking the armor he wore on his back. From them sprouted feather-like appendages, each one sharper than any blade ever created by man. What a moment. No thank you. And the reason this works is because of the word choice, right? So beyond him screaming, right? His bones deformed. Deformed is a great word choice for creating that kind of like creep. You want to use certain words, right? So deformed, and then from them sprout feather-like appendages. And I think this is clear, right? So some types of like wings are sprouting, each one sharper than any blade ever created. And I think that works. I think that does work. You could use a couple more words like deform, like not deform, but a couple more words of that style to really up it and make it a little bit more like even creepier if you wanted to. And then basically we have Ayrton and the Flax fight. It's great. The loud scream, he swung the weapon that slowly took possession of his mind. This is great. This is cool. The sword's power knit his flesh back together as soon as it was torn by the Flax. So I think what I would just clarify is that this voice is coming from the sword. Okay, so I think what I would just clarify is he touches the sword and then the sword speaks. So that's the only thing that I would clarify if you were to go back and tighten this up. Clarify that the voice is the sword, and the sword is the one that's giving him this like crazy ability that's basically transforming him. The sword's power net is flash. With a loud scream, he swung the sword that slowly took possession of his mind, and with a power that seemed inappropriate. So how did the sword take possession of his mind? I think I might just clarify what that means. It's cool, but I think it could add a point of clarity. The beast heard from its shoulders. He fell exhausted to the ground, about to pass out, when the voice thundered through his head again. Was it worth it? This is cool. And I know this was just a 15-minute prompt, my friend, but I kind of want to know more about this like talking sword. I love that talking sword trope with the voice, but like the ability that this sword does, it like basically like changes his dichotomy, his anatomy. Like it's crazy. Crazy. Oh my goodness. So once again, that's all that I got for you. Like I said, this was a short little piece, but definitely write more. I would love to hear more from you, my friend. So definitely write more, and we will see what we have in store for you next. So thank you for submitting that, my friend. That was definitely a really interesting read. Awesome. So that was great. And we're going to queue up another one in just a moment. Who do we have next on deck? Marta. So Marta, we have yours next on deck. WTF question mark. And this is comedy and absurdist. So we're going to be doing comedy and absurdist. So I'll be queuing that one up next, but let me go check back into the comments. I saw a couple new faces here in the community hopping in. Let's see. Ichthy, as I hope I say that right. Ichthy, welcome to the stream, my friend. Always love seeing new writers in the community. Welcome. I love story reads and critiques. It's always fun and interactive. Yeah, so like I said, so this is our 38th episode of the story and critique stream. Right now, the story and critique stream is every other Saturday. So if you want to be alerted, my friends, make sure that you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, and that way you'll be alerted when we go live. Because I'm a daily streamer, 430 consecutive streams and counting. So the story and critique stream is just one of the many stream types we do. Very, very cool. Yeah, thanks for clarifying that, Mast. Appreciate it. Let's see. Yeah, it's actually kind of interesting, Mast. You've been with us in the community for a while. You joined us earlier on. Like, I want to say, yeah, I think I first started seeing you around summer. I think you saw the older, you might have seen the older version of the ReadNow brand right before I rebranded from Kauffman's Corner. But it's definitely been great having you around the community, my friend. Let's see. Oh, I really appreciate that, Courtney. Like, I've been here since August 2024. Found the channel from a critique show. Kauffman is here daily and built an amazing community of supportive writers. I try. I definitely try, my friends. I love every part of the writing process. I love the writing. I love the revising. I love the editing. I love the publishing. I love the trying to figure out how to market it, how to do all the things. I love helping other writers. And I want my enthusiasm for writing that I know has been inherent since I was very young to share that with the world. And I know it's so difficult to write a book. Writing a book not only takes time, it has highs and lows. And I feel that creating a community of writers of all genres and all skill levels is the way to go, especially in a world that's so full of uncertainty. So very, very cool. Thank you for that. Yeah, so like Saturday are other things. Sunday is writing advice, usually interviews. Yeah, so this weekend, let's see, I have no podcast this weekend. Yeah, so far we're in season 2 of the Create Right Now podcast, which is basically author interviews. And we've done 3 episodes so far. I'm taking a break this weekend so that way I can just do writing sprints tomorrow because I need to make progress on Scarecrow. But I'll be back with the next episode of the podcast next weekend, which I actually think next weekend's podcast is actually going to be really cool. I can't announce it. I have to make sure that it's the right one. But yeah. I know, me forgetting what a colon was called. I write good, friends. Yo, Tiara in the house. As I hop in, my friend. Welcome. Let's see. What do we got here? I meant to submit for today, but I've been so busy this week. Tiara, that's totally all good. I know that, like I said, I think we had about 10 to 12 submissions for today. I would say just make sure you submit this weekend so that way you can try to get in on the next stream. That would be my recommendation because I know how crazy busy you've been. I know we have a lot going on in the community, and I know you're probably busy, crazy with work stuff as well. Eli, welcome, by the way, my friend. You're like saying then using a colon and providing the quotation is very biblical in style. It is a biblical style. And I think whenever we use a colon, it makes it feel a little bit more like either academic or feel like a textbook. And I think that's why when we use colons, we want to use it with intention, recognizing that readers are going to perceive it as maybe something biblical or maybe something more academic. But that's really the idea that a colon gives off. So unless you're trying to create that vibe with your writing style, I would not use a colon. Yeah, what's up? 1,000 books in the house. Yo, yo, yo. Welcome back, my friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hope everything is going well for you. Let's see, Lillian. Sometimes I have a hard time clarifying who is talking. So, Lillian, this is a great call out. So writers can do a couple things, right? So the easiest thing is using a dialogue tag. If we use a dialogue tag, quote, the character said this, right? That's one way of doing it. Another way, right, is we can use the action. You can use an action or interiority to set up the paragraph and then use that to lead into the dialogue. There's a number of different strategies, but the point is, like, if you precede the dialogue with a piece of action, that might actually make the dialogue stronger. Dialogues generally can be stronger if there's no dialogue tag. You want to think of it like this. Dialogue tags are meant really to be invisible for the most part. They're supposed to support the piece of dialogue, so the dialogue is stronger. I think I've gotten a pretty good understanding of dialogue. Maybe I'll do a video on dialogue at some point. Maybe I'll do a video on like dialogue rules, because I know a lot of writers struggle with, not struggle, but I know dialogue's an opportunity for a lot of people. So that's actually a good call out. But yeah, Lillian, for someone who struggles, I would just say like rely more heavily on dialogue tags would be my biggest recommendation. And then, of course, Lillian, if you ever submit anything to the story, to the critique stream, we're always happy to take a look at things and help you out. Mast. I'm the ReadNow greeter without the slobbering and the paw marks. You guys crack me up. Yeah, we have a lot. Okay, all right. So let's get on with it. Let's see. So what do I got queued up next? So speaking of the writing, let's queue up the book club, because this is actually a good thing to chat about. So the thing that we're advertising in the community, we just launched the Read Now book club. So we're actually reading the Read Now book club is a book club for writers. In the middle of the month, we do an author interview. At the end of the month, we do a live stream with the other co-hosts and we talk about the book. The Read Now book club, this is our first month that we just launched it. Very, very exciting. And I'll throw up the cover art for it. Awesome. So this is what we got here. Let's perfect. So as you can see, right, this is the thumbnail we got for the Read Now book club. This is the thing that we're doing this month, and we are currently reading. The first book is Dead Caster by author M.L. Claxon. So this is the March book that we're reading for this month. For anybody who wants a copy, we're actually giving out free copies of the book Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So there's only 3 days. You can actually get a free copy of the book if you want to come join it for free. All you have to do is down in the YouTube description is the link to become a Read Now Book Club member, and we'll let you know and we'll figure out if you want to get a free copy of the book so that way you can join us. So for the next 3 days, the Read Now Book Club March book, Dead Caster, will be available for free for Read Now Book Club members. And all you have to do is fill out the form linked down in the YouTube description. All right, my friends, I wanted to make sure to do a quick call out to that. Courtney, that's perfect. I saw you call out the interview, because we're actually going to be interviewing the author M.L. Claxon next weekend. So that will be the Saturday stream. We'll be doing the author interview, and then Sunday will be a podcast interview. So next weekend is a weekend full of interviews. Oh man, that's actually really funny. All right, so I guess we'll see. Okay, awesome. Perfect. And let's see. So let me queue up Marta's. So I'm going to be hopping next into, it looks like we got absurdist comedy. So we're mixing up the vibe for the next one, it looks like. All right. So let's see what we got. Lillian. So Lillian, you said, I submitted a story, but I don't know if I did it for the Saturday thing or for the members only thing. Yes, Lillian. So definitely, so Lillian, what I would say is like I don't think I saw a submission for you for the story and critique stream. What I would recommend, yeah, so what I would recommend, Lillian, is if you want to, is like where is, I was like I might not have saved the link. So let me get the link. Awesome. Here you go, Lillian. So what I'll do is I just dropped the critique stream submission form down in the chat. That way, if you want, you can sign up and you can go submit your story. So I would highly recommend that, Lillian. So I would say go submit your story for the story and critique stream link for the private YouTube members chat, because you said you weren't sure if it's for the Saturday thing or for the members only thing. So for the members only stream, that's basically like a private offline stream where you can show up and we give each other feedback. So, yeah, I would say, because I'm not sure which one you submitted for as well. I think I remember seeing an email from you at one point. So, but you can always let me know, right? So, like the story and critiques show is like the stream where we do them live, whereas the members only one is like a closed writers group in a sense where we all meet up and we talk about it. We talk about each other's stories. So, but our next writers group, our next channel members writers group will be next week. So I need to drop that post today. We got a lot going on next week. So thanks for clarifying that, Mast. Yeah, the private critique groups actually been really helpful. All of the writers who've showed up for all of our private critique groups have actually gotten so much value out of it. All right. Hey, what's up, Holistic in the house? I know, my friends. We got a lot going on next week. Next week, we have so we have the YouTube channel members private critique group. We have the Read Now Book Club author interview with ML Claxon. And then I have a Create Right Now podcast interview scheduled with, I'll announce that on Monday. So a Create Right Now podcast episode on Monday or on Sunday. So yeah, we got a lot going on next week. So definitely going to be a fun week full of learnings, which means that our writing streams throughout the week are going to have to be, we're going to have to like stay on top of our writing and be getting a lot of progress in. So awesome. All right, so let's get into it. So I have Marta's, I have yours all queued up here. And it looks like we got WTF, comedy, absurdist humor. Delinquents. I wake up like every morning, all bent over. On top of that, that lunatic next door is acting like he's organizing some kind of party for murderers, rapists, and drug addicts. Suddenly, I hear a slap, and a moment later, I feel pain on my cheek. It stings like hell. Sucker! Jason shouts. I open my eyes and realize that I'm with the guys in a summer house, and these murderers, rapists, and drug addicts are oh so wonderful companions. Two guys start jumping on my bed when Jason falls on my leg. Ow! Go away, you godless bastard! I shout to my friend. Wonderful, I think to myself. Not only does my back and head hurt, but my cheek and leg hurt too. A slob and a sex addict should pray that it's not a fracture. Otherwise, I'll take him to court. I forgot. Jason is a bloody agnostic and a Satanist. At that very moment, something happens that makes me unable to believe my eyes. Jason kneels down, crosses himself, and starts praying. He must have smelled solvent again. Do I smell fried pancakes? I asked my typical enthusiasm. Oh, Cinderella is finally satisfied, the girl notices. Sydney is a lesbian, but at least she cooks well. I tried my best, but we didn't have any eggs. The store is far away, so I used bird eggs that I found in the forest. She adds, I changed my mind. Her culinary skills are at the same level as her appearance. After all, no one needs to try to convince me to try pancakes. When I reach out for one, Cody runs right in front of me and knocks the plate out of Sydney's hands. It bounces off the soft carpet and shatters right on the head of the praying Jason. Jesus, pale ass! I knew faith would only bring me bad luck! Everybody pretends not to see all the mess around. Jaws. Jason shouts, We're going to the lake! Then runs outside without waiting for anyone. I'm actually ready to go myself. I can wash myself in the lake. My teeth will fall out anyway, and we'll hunt down a steak for breakfast. I'll join Jason before the others have time to get ready to leave, and I won't have to talk to anyone. After this trip, I think I'll lock myself in some isolation cell or a psychiatric hospital. I already miss being alone. I rush to the lake as fast as I can, at the pace of a sloth or just a one-legged guy. Enjoying the weather and the overcast sky, I take off my shirt and throw it on the sand. I barely manage to sit up when a savage runs out from behind the bushes and does a somersault over my head. What the hell were you doing in the bushes? I ask Jason. What do you mean? I was draining potatoes, he replies. Although you're right, I should have done it in the water. Adds, potatoes? I ask him. Yeah, you know my balls. I can't believe my ears. At my friend's urging, I enter the water. Cold as hell. Not that I was expecting thermal waters, but I'd rather not catch a cold in my potatoes. No way, I can't go any deeper. I can't finish the sentence because I'm already underwater with Jason on my back. I'm starting to run out of oxygen. Maybe today is the day when all my suffering will end. Maybe when I'm ready to die, the weight of the guy lifts off me and I see the legs of the rest of the team underwater. Without thinking, I jump out of the water like a shark and give Sydney a heart attack. 3, two less. The guys and I pull the girl to the surface. Jason is the first to rush to make her mouth to mouth. After drilling all over her face, he moves on to the chest apprehension. The rest just stare, like those orphans or dogs in a shelter when a man comes to visit. Not that I like dogs. I only come there because they give out free candy to visitors. That's enough, Jason. It's my turn now, the fat one says. He hits the ground with his knees, making it rumble. Here? He asks, grabbing the girl's breasts. Not here, you moron. Cody intervenes angrily. Let me do it. He takes the initiative, pushing Trevor to the ground. He hits his head on a rock. I look at his body for a moment, then with an unintentional note of excitement in my voice, I shout that we have another death. The girl is still not breathing. There is no hope for her. Trevor would probably survive, but we have an overpopulation, and he takes up way too much space on this planet. The guy agrees to my proposal to tie rock to the feet of the dead, and then we pull both wrecks into the water. Problem solved. 4. Rainbow. We return in a diminished group. The rest of the companions are so immersed in mourning that I will soon have to pack them into coffins. A sedative? I offer my medicine to the shaken Cody. Surprisingly, everyone is interested. I revel in the silence. Suddenly, I hear a roar. What a ride! Ikake seems to be losing his mind. Do you see that? He asks, looking at me. Rainbow, he explains. Or sedatives, Maka had the opposite effect on Ikake, and I know what just happened. Ikake, I ask, what did you put in my medicine basket? A whisker, a whisker, a wicker basket, by the way, woven by my late grandmother. And I couldn't even go to her funeral because of this fucking backache. Suddenly, even on my own thoughts are drowned out by the laughter of the guys, like an avalanche. They start one after another. I don't even need Ikake's answer anymore. I gave the guys drugs. We'll have a temporary wake. To survive this circus, I reach for a pill of happiness myself. 5. Man under the window. Disco Polo is playing at full volume. God, what a piece of junk. The worst music I've ever heard, but it's still fucking awesome. We take turns dancing, smoking weed, and talking about how we could use some extra chicks here. Unfortunately, there are only 4 of us left: Jason, Cody, Akake, and me. In other words, a sex addict, a clumsy, a drug addict, and a geezer. Um, I look out the window. I think I see someone there. Hey guys, I think there's a guy standing under a window, I say in a raised voice. Suddenly, the atmosphere becomes serious. We turn off the music, sit down against the wall, and pretend we're not there. Finally, I'm the first to lose my patience. It's not that I'm that brave, but I'm tired of sitting in the dark. I decide to open the door for the man. I open the window, though, because it's closer and my leg hurts. The stray sits curled up on the grass. He doesn't notice me at all. Hey, a bum! I shout to the stranger. Who are you and what do you want here? The strange man doesn't answer. He's definitely shy. Hey, our pills will help you. I'm convinced it's a great idea to let the weirdo into the house. 6. Hi, guy. You must be cold, Cody says, and then he comes up with the brilliant idea of pouring warm water into a bowl, which lands on the stranger's head a moment later. The perfect solution to warm somebody up. Literally, a few minutes pass, and our guest is already showing the first signs of the drug's effects. However, the convulsions could be the result of his soaked clothes. I'd rather bet on the second option since the man is still mute. Suddenly, he jumps up and looks around nervously, as if searching for something. He runs towards the kitchen. Aikake reflexively runs after him. A lamp falls from the ceiling and crushes our Jamaican colleague. However, the boy gets up from the floor like the resurrected Jesus Christ. In the meantime, the weirdo is quickly searching the kitchen. He must be extremely hungry. Even Jews during World War II were not so desperate. To our surprise, the madman pulls a knife out of the drawer. 7. The stone murder. The atmosphere quickly becomes tense. The man heads towards our friend, who is desperately trying to escape the chandelier. Being an easy target for the weirdo, he dies first from a stab wound. Panic sets in. What do we do? Cody asks, terrified. What do you mean? I reply. We fight. Or even better, we run. I add, taking advantage of the considerable distance the man is from the kitchen, I take a butter knife out of the drawer. I attract the enemy's attention and we fight as equals. It looks a bit like a fencing dance. While I play knight, Jason and Cody run towards the exit door. Although these two will survive, they don't starve to death in the forest. As always, clumsy Cody stumbles on the stairs and falls down. The weirdo is bored with our knife fight. He interrupts the duel and, interested in Cody's body, heads towards it, making the biggest mistake of his life. You don't turn your back on your opponent, I shout, stabbing the butter knife into the killer's back. Victory! 8. Jason. I triumphantly head for the door to brag to Jason that I murdered a dangerous man from the woods and to tell him that we are no longer in danger, to come back inside. It's true that he will regret that 3 of us are dead, but when it comes down to it, our own lives are the most important. On the other side, I wonder if Cody is alive. He has been lying on the floor for a long time. He probably just played dead like those possums. I crouch over the clumsy guy. Everything's okay now, I say. No reaction. Another surprise awaits me behind the door. At first glance, the sex addict is nowhere to be seen. He must have hidden behind the house or somewhere in the bushes. Jason, dirty, I call out. The threat is over. Silence. The sucker wants to scare me. All I have to do is start searching and head into the unknown. My calling doesn't stop. My knee hurts more and more with every passing moment. I hope this joker is found as soon as possible. I stop. An unusual sound in the bushes catches my attention. Like a stream, I gently push aside the bush leaves. Fuck you! I explode. Do you really have to piss when I'm going crazy? Jason opens his mouth to say something, but an arrow pierces his chest. Poachers! I run as fast as I can to hide in a safe house. 9. Cody. I get there without any problems. I have a good orientation in the area. Something strange. The door is locked. I knock and nothing. Cody, my friend, it's me. We're safe. I shout loudly enough to make sure he hears me. I look through the window. Damn, this isn't our house. Wandering through the forest, I finally find the right one. Cody! I call out cheerfully from a distance. The door is open just as I left it, and Cody lies right behind it. Wake up, you sleepyhead! I nudge him with my foot. Impossible. I check his pulse. Dead. Was I the only one who survived? Cool. I'll spend the rest of my vacation in peace and quiet. All alone, I go outside to enjoy the beauty of nature. I survived! Ha ha ha! I survived! Even the echo doesn't answer me. A drop of rain falls on my forehead. but it's cloudless. It definitely won't rain. I turn around and my eyes meet the open mouth of a huge bear. Dot, dot, dot. To survive or not to survive. There's that ambiguous ending. I love it. The end. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Oh, wow. What? Whew, what did you guys think of that? Wow. So what did you guys think of that story? So I'm thinking so there's a lot of elements that I liked, and then there's a couple elements that were confusing to me. So like there was a lot of absurdist elements to it, and I think when did I start liking the story? I think the moment I was pulled in was around the time when the two friends were dead. I think the setup for the story, the beginning was a little confusing, and I just wasn't sure on the tone promise or on who the characters were. By the time I got to the characters, like the lake scene and the characters are dying, I was like, okay. That time, by then, I was like, okay, I had a clear understanding of the protagonist. And I was like, I got the absurdist part of it. And then there were definitely a couple of moments that made me laugh. I think the ending was really well done. I think my favorite part of this story was actually the climax and the ending, and I thought it actually did very well to serve the whole absurdist tone of the story. So, and I know I saw a couple of you guys commenting and throwing throughout. So let's hop into the story itself. And I know I saw a couple of comments. What do we got here? Yeah, and I saw Marta. You had mentioned that it was written for a contest, and the theme was wild. So you're really trying to make it as weird as possible. You're trying to go like as extreme as possible, and I think there's actually a lot of moments where the extremism and the absurdism works. I think the greatest challenge is the first chapter is a little confusing. So from a tone promise, I'm not clear on what the tone is because I don't know what because it's absurdist, right? So we'll get into it. Eli said it feels like an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia in a good way. I kind of got that vibe too at times actually. All right, so let's get into it. Let me see what we got. Well, thank you. I didn't. Marty, you said you didn't believe in the story. Oh man, that cracks me up. So I think right now the biggest opportunity. So I wake up like every morning all bent over. On top of that, that lunatic next door is acting like he's organizing some kind of party for murderers, rapists, and drug addicts. So this is your problem right here. So when you use the term murderers, rapists, and drug addicts, you're setting a certain tone for the story. So what I actually would have recommended was because I get why you're doing it because you're trying to make it extreme. But I think before referencing these types of people, you want to set us up in who the protagonist is first. I kind of got the sense that the protagonist was kind of this like very like dark, almost kind of like a Wednesday type vibe from the Adams family, kind of like very like dark of like she like laughs when people die, and she's really into like that dark, like she wants to like own dark creepy world, and that's kind of the vibe that I got from her character. um Now, the challenge when you do something that's absurdist and extreme, you have to, before you go into the most extreme absurdist elements, you have to make it clear for the reader what the tone is. Um, so I think with that opening, because when you go here, for me, for all I could have known this, for all I knew, this could have been like a drama, right? This could have been a story about somebody who was assaulted, right? Especially because you are somebody who was attacked or killed because you use that terminology. So I think I would have set up the character first and then the tone. Let's see. So I'm not here to stop a moment later. I feel pain in my cheek. It stings like hell. Sucker, Jason shouts. I like this is funny, right? I actually kind of like this. I like this. Sucker, Jason shouts. I open my eyes and realize that I'm with the guys in a summer house, and these murders, rapes, and drug acts are my oh so wonderful companions. Okay. So I think with that being the case, and I see what you're doing here, what I would have done is I would have set up our main character here. I wake up like every morning all bent over. And then I would have done like a little bit of character description, like who does like I look around and I'm looking at like the broken bottle in my hand. Did I die? I hope I did. That would be fun. Or doing like something that kind of sets a vibe. I wish my pet tarantula would come kill one of these weirdos. I tried to become initiate and Killers Anonymous. Things like that kind of set up like this very dark tone or this party tone. Um, because then you do the murders, rapists, and drug acts, and essentially you're doing that for the punchline because essentially it's a joke. But because we're not sure that it's a joke, it could come across the wrong way. Because then when we get here, oh, these murders, rapes, and drug acts, oh, they're her friends. Ah, ha, ha. All right, cool. Now, okay, I get what you're going for with that. Two guys start jumping on my bed when Jason falls on my leg. I'll go away. And then remember with dialogue, Marta, whenever a new speaker speaks, we always have to do a new paragraph. Otherwise, it gets confusing because in this one, you had Jason speaking. So I would have actually recommended doing it like that and then going here. Ow, go away. Otherwise, the reader chances getting confused. And this is just a common dialogue rule. Anytime a new speaker speaks, new piece of dialogue. Yeah, I guess that works. I think you would go like this. I might be wrong. Actually, I might be wrong with that. I don't remember. Wonderful, I think to myself. Not only does my back and head hurt, but my cheek and leg, otherwise I'll take him to court. I forgot, Jason is a bloody agnostic and a Satanist. And then with paragraph ideation, so essentially what we want, right? So we want to make each of these moments, we want to separate each of these moments a little bit. So, ow, go away, you godless bastard. I shout to my friend. Wonderful, I think to myself. Not only does my back and head hurt, but my cheek and leg hurt too. Now we're going to the slob and the sex addict because this is its own idea. And this would actually make it stronger by separating those paragraphs like that. And then we do the pancakes. I asked my typical, oh, Cinderella's fine. Right. And this is just separating speakers again so we don't get confused. She adds, I change my mind, or culinary skills. And I get that. So, like, what I feel here is I feel like you're doing is you're giving us a lot of punchlines. You're giving us a lot of dark punchlines. And because the reader doesn't understand the tone of the world, that it's absurdist, the jokes are potentially lost because there wasn't enough setup done on it. You could even like do a smaller character setup, but you got to get the tone promise first. And the tone promise has to be that this is absurdist. The only way to make the reader understand this is absurdist is the first paragraph has to have an extremely absurdist moment that we recognize is absurdist. That's the only way to set up the tone promise, especially because the first part focuses on a lot of these jokes. Because once I understood the jokes, once I understood the tone, I'm like, okay, I was along for the ride. But I didn't understand the jokes and what the tone was until I was a couple sections into it. And I think into the story itself, then I was like, okay, I'm definitely I'm along for the ride now, and I was kind of starting to like the characters. Yeah, and I think it's really just the setup. I think once that first section is fixed, and I think once we understand the tone, once we have a better idea of who is our main character, I feel like the character is Wednesday Adam. Actually, I feel like the character is Wednesday Adams meets Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That feels like that's what the character type is. Which that's actually kind of a cool mashup because Wednesday Adams is creepy AF, and then It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is a bunch of angry Philadelphians always yelling at each other all the time, every single episode. Yeah. And I think if you set that up, I think it'll make the rest of the story really easy to hop into. I also think something else that you should recommend doing. So essentially what you're doing is you're setting up all the friends, because basically this is all the friends are dying. So by the end of the first section, like, who have we introduced, right? So we have Jason. Who else? We have Jason and Jason. Who else do we have? We have Jason and Sydney. After all, and Cody. When I reach out for one, Cody runs right in front of me. We have Jason, Cody, and Sydney. I think those are the only 3 characters. So technically there's 4 of them then, right? Yeah, so I think there's only 4 of them, because basically I think Sydney dies in 2. Jason, I rush to the lake and turn the weather. And then in Jaws, I think that's when Sydney dies. Yes. Okay. So I think what I would also clarify then at the end of section 1, I would, after all, no one needs to convince me to try pancakes. I think what I would reiterate is that our main character, and reiterate for the reader who the friends are. Main character looks at her friends. Jason, the sex addict. Cody, the drug addict, Conan the druggie, and Sydney I forgot what the other one was. Sydney the murder. Okay, because you said murder. What was that? Murder, rapist, and drug addict. Oh, it's not a sex addict. Party for murder, rapist, and drug. And when you use rapist, like, that's going to create such a connotation. I would actually go sex addict over rapist. Only because some people, if they see a rapist, like, you're just going to turn them off completely. And because that's can be such a trigger word. So I would go sex addict over rapist. And that still gets the same point of pro. I'd go murders, sex addicts, and druggies. And I think that gets the same point across without potentially putting someone off. And then at the end of the first section, I would just clarify who each of them are, right? Jason the sex addict, Cody the druggie, and Sydney the murder, right? Because I think because you have so much going on in this story, I think you want to make sure to just remind the reader who is who, right? Because you've done a lot of jokes, and this way the reader's like, okay, cool. And I think this would just be a paragraph of the main character is looking at her friends. Jason is bowing and doing his thing. Cody is doing something with pancakes. And I think that would just help reiterate it and make it clearer, because we want to make sure that we understand who our 4 main characters are, because starting the next chapter, one of them is about to die. And we want to feel something for when she dies. Even if we're laughing at it, we still want to feel something. Hey, what's up, Heather? Saw you hop into the stream. Welcome, my friend. And Mary, welcome. So I think the guys are going to tie rocks. And then I think all the jokes in like part 2 make sense. I think part 3, once you fix the dialogue and the formatting, that's more structural. But I think a lot of that will make a little bit more sense if you've done the setup a little clearer. Okay, and then there was another character, Aikake. So I don't know who Aikake was, but they randomly appeared in 4 or 5. So if Aikake is a character, then they need to be introduced in the beginning, because you have so much going on in the story, because there's so many dark jokes. Aikake needs to be introduced. Aikake needs to be introduced here, right? So that way we know who all the characters and all the crew are. So, and I think if you introduce Aikake here, right, because we just want to understand who all the characters are, who this friend group is, and I think that will definitely help. But yeah, I mean, like I said, the middle was great. Once we got through the lake part, I was kind of on board. I'm like, oh, okay, now I get what's under, because I like horror. I think horror is great. I think that's a great genre. And I think you're basically doing like dark horror. You're doing comedic dark comedy, which in itself is its own tone and genre. And that dark comedy has a very huge cult following. People love dark comedy. Um, you just got to make sure that the people who like dark comedy are clear that it's dark comedy from the get-go. Like, I know that you're saying like the genre, but you got to make it clear in the writing. Let's see. Hair pills. All right, and then you had this thing with a stranger or a bum, which that's funny. You let some random dude into the house, and I get why you're doing that. And also know the same thing with rapists. When you say even Jews during World War II were not so desperate, that could potentially be a trigger warning. So you might want to consider replacing this one with another reference, only because it may trigger some people. Terror surprise, the man pulls out a knife, the stone murder. Cody asks. And yeah, then I mean, like, I think overall though with the ending I was fine. You mentioned something with the poacher, which was kind of funny. And all, like, it's true that we will regret that the three of us are dead. But when it comes down to it, our own lives are the most important. This is hilarious, right? You have a lot of moments where it's absolutely funny. And I think playing into the strength of it is having more moments like this where it's funny. And if the reader understands what's going on, then the reader will be along for the ride. So this is interesting, right? That there's a poacher. I think to better tie in the story, I think the poacher should be tied into the homeless dude. Should be tied into the bear. If you want to make the story tie in better, the homeless guy that shows up and the poacher and the bear at the end should all be tied together somehow. They should either be the same character or the same group. Maybe it's a homeless dude who owns a pet bear, right? Like, do something funny like that, right? Kind of like the tiger, what was that? The tiger guy documentary, right? Do it some homeless guy who owns a bear, and this homeless guy is a poacher, right? I think if you tied those three elements together, it'll just make the story structurally a little bit more sound. But yeah, this ending, but it's cloudless. It definitely won't rain. I turn around and my eyes meet the open mouth of a huge bear. I was like, of course. You think a protagonist is going to survive, and then they're confronted with a bear. But they don't. They might not necessarily die. And I think that's what's funny. I think that's what's funny. I know you like to leave that open-ended type of ending, which is left up to interpretation. And I think this worked out very well. Right. So then the reader's like, oh, maybe the character died, maybe they might survive. Who knows? And I think that was very well done. So, yeah, that's everything that I got for you, Marta. Thanks so much for submitting, my friend. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's always nice when we get different styles of writing. And I know dark comedy, I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but it's always so interesting because once again, it comes down to the same elements of, are we setting up the tone correctly for the reader? Are we setting up clear characters, clear plot, and so on and so forth? So very, very cool. Thanks so much for submitting, my friend. I always love listening and reading different styles. All right. Woo. Excellent. So I feel wonderful. Okay, so we are on a good vibe now. Ooh, all right. So before we hop into the next one, how's everybody doing? What'd you guys how is everyone feeling? And I saw a couple more of you guys pop into the stream. Who are we doing next? Let's see. We are doing it looks like we are going back into fantasy. So it looks like we're doing a fantasy for Calvin. So Calvin, we're hopping into yours next, which is fantasy, The Rise of Gabriel. So Calvin, I know I saw you earlier in the stream. Just holler if you're still here, my friend. I'm going to be touching into your next story submission. I know we did a previous excerpt of The Rise of Gabriel, and I believe this is like a fantasy world that has like a lot of references and thematic undertones for the book of Gabriel, I believe, the story of Gabriel, which is of course religious figures, but we don't know too much yet on how religious, or I think it's more fantastical, so we'll see, because I know we've done a few excerpts of it so far. So yeah, and we'll be hopping into yours in just a second, my friend. Oof. But how is everybody feeling? I feel great. I always love doing these story readings, and my voice is still feeling pretty good too. So I feel pretty confident today. Mm-hmm. I feel like we've had a nice mix for today, because we started the first one off with kind of like murder mystery, which was like fantasy murder mystery. The second one was also like kind of science fictiony, kind of science fiction, kind of this is like fiction, which makes sense why it was fiction. Third one was obviously dark comedy, and the fourth one we're going into straight fantasy. So I feel pretty good about the stories that we have so far for today. Woof. And once again, I should remind everyone, make sure to submit your stories if you haven't already. Marta, like, go resurrect like Jesus Christ. So definitely make sure to submit if you have not done so already. All right. I'm like taking a little bit of a breather for a moment. All right. So let's see. While I am taking a breather for a moment, I will queue up. So the next thing that I'm focused on, and the thing that I want to bring attention to you guys, is that I am actually a book editor and a writing coach. So I just wanted to share this with everyone in the community who's not aware. I offer both book editing and writer coaching services for those of you in the community who don't know. So when I talk about book editing services, this is my website, The Creative Ghost LLC. And for anybody who wants to check it out, who is not aware, are you going to be looking for a book editor in the future? I have different rates for my services. I will drop it down in the chat. Also, link down in the YouTube description down below. So essentially, these are my book editing services. The website you can kind of go check out more. Here are the rates for that I offer for book editing. Now, something that a lot of clients don't recognize is I give huge discounts. I give huge discounts for a couple things: for first-time clients, batch edits, YouTube channel members, and referrals. So these are always things I like to call out too. Whether you're looking for a developmental edit, which remember is when we're focused, if you're looking for like big picture, like character development, plot, world building, or a line edit, which is a focus on a line by line sentence structure, whereas a copy edit kind of does line by line, but copy also focuses more heavily on grammar, and then also language as well, while also focusing on parts of language, like making sure that your commas, making sure that your ellipses and all the other writing elements are consistent throughout the manuscript. Copy edits will usually include a style guide. or a proofread is like a final read through of a manuscript before it gets published. So I offer a couple of different editing services, and this whole web page just kind of goes into depth in what it offers. I also have, and once again, thanks to the community, I also have ways so you can actually check out what I do specifically for editing. So that way, like, you can kind of check it out beforehand. Like, thanks to all my community members, you can kind of see what to expect from my editing services throughout. So it's such a cool thing. And I think it's a great way for, like, hey, what type of editor is he? You guys see me on the critique stream, so you guys know like what my overall style is for critiques. But for editing, I love that you're able to go check out, like, okay, this is the type of editing that you can expect. So this is a great call out. And then also, I also wanted to call out for writers who are looking for coaching services. I also offer coaching for writers as well. I still apply discounts, right? Right now, this is my current rates. But I do actually also apply discounts, the same thing with editing services. Coaching is a great, great way if you need help, you feel like you want to learn as a writer, you want to do like a bi-weekly, monthly type of coaching thing, you want to learn like, oh, I always struggle with this type of writing and I want to get better. It's another way of, let's say maybe you don't have enough to afford like an education, because let's face it, education is expensive. It's a great way to learn from my 25 years of experience as a writer. I have a BFA in creative writing, and then you guys have seen me over the past 340 consecutive streams. So I feel very confident in what I'm talking about because I've gone on quite the journey. So if you're looking to learn and really up your writing skill level, definitely reach out for coaching services. For anybody who wants to sign up, I should probably post the sign up link. Let's see, where did it go? So for anybody who wants to sign up for writing services, or if, let's say you want to book like a free consultation, so that way you can kind of talk through it and learn more, then what I would recommend is checking out this link. This is essentially a Google Docs link that's just going to ask you a couple questions and will help qualify if I'm going to be a good writing coach or book editor for you. So I just dropped that link down in the chat for anybody who's interested in learning more about coaching or book editing services. All right, beautiful. So definitely, and then Marta, you said, did you need to get some qualifications on becoming an editor and writing coach? That is a great question because there are a lot of book editors and writing coaches out there. I think a lot of people value different types of qualifications and different types of experiences differently for both book editors and writing coaches. A lot of my experience comes from a lifetime of writing, which you guys see my writing style and my enthusiasm and understanding of the craft every single day on the streams. Outside of that, I also have a BFA in creative writing. So I have a degree where I had to learn the different elements, the structures, writing is rewriting, and all the different parts of a creative writing degree. In addition, like I said, I also have many, many years of being as a part of writers groups and a part of real life experience to understand the type of help that writers need, so that way I can offer them value. A lot of editors and writing coaches out there don't even have that level of experience and then just start out just offering services. I've now edited quite a number of projects, and each project that I've done, I feel confident I can deliver on the value of helping the author to get to that state of where they want their book or their writing career to take them. Yeah, Marta, it's definitely a really interesting idea. I know, especially because you're involved in a couple of communities. I think what I would always highly recommend is just do your research. Go onto like the gig websites like Fiverr, go check out on socials. What are other writing coaches or book editors doing out there? And then ask like, okay, well, how would you market yourself, right? How are you going to stand out? Right. And then I would practice your first couple times. You might want to do some free ones. That way you can trade for testimonials. And you would ask yourself, how are you going to help out others and in what way? Because being an editor is not always the easiest thing. Being an editor is not easy because you have to have a deeper understanding of language to really be able to edit effectively. You could do developmental editing because developmental editing is a little bit bigger picture, but I think there's a lot of learning elements to it as well. So very, very cool. That's really cool that you're interested. Yeah, Lmae, I know you've been working on your story for a little while now, too. You're like, Lmae said, hopefully I'll be able to get this draft for an editor. Totally understand, my friend. You're like, woof, man. And I know you've been working on it for some time, trying to get our stories and our drafts to the level that editing requires can be such a process. But as we all know, right, like I know a lot of self-published authors out there do publish without an editor. And I know editing can cost money because like it's an investment. But at the end of the day, if you publish your book, and let me, I'm not saying to you, but just in general to people, if you publish a book and readers read it and there's editing mistakes, or if characters don't make sense or plot lines don't make sense, people aren't going to read more. And that's a problem, right? That's why editing is so important, so important, right? Because it's one thing to get free feedback, and sometimes we can trade for like skills, like trading for readers is always a great strategy, but like we don't know what we don't know. So I think there's definitely a lot. There's definitely a couple of things to consider. Every time I tell people, if you are going to invest money into anything, what are the two things? What are the things that you should have to invest money into? Cover design, because if nobody likes your cover, nobody will even open the book. And your cover has to be competitive against other books in the market for it to stand out, right? And cover design not going to cost. You can probably find somebody for a couple $100 on Fiverr, or find somebody through social media, right? So make sure you invest in your cover design, whoever your cover design artist is, and book editing, because if the book has problems, nobody reads it. I don't think you necessarily need to pay for blurbs because you can make your own blurbs, but a lot of people's blurbs aren't that great. I know Rachel Adams in the community, she actually offers really cheap blurb services, which is like really, really cheap for anybody who needs feedback on blurbs or needs help putting a blurb. So I'll link that down in the description for anybody who wants to check her out. But Rachel offers some great services. She hosted me on her live stream a couple weeks ago, and we took the Scarecrow blurb to like new levels. Like I was like, yes, I was so happy about it. So very, very cool. Awesome. So let's with that get into our next story. So with that, we're going to be hopping into Calvin's The Rise of Gabriel. All right. So we did a previous chapter of this story on an earlier critique stream. All right. So we did chapter. I know we originally did a prologue, which Calvin, I think, shared that he was going to change. And then we later did chapter 1, which I think just sets up the character. It was setting like this character up in some type of like fantasy world. It sounds like they're in like a forest type community with the main character, his mother, and then his best friend shows up and they're going to go hunting. So I think that was the setup for going into chapter 2. We'll see what we get into with this next section. The Rise of Gabriel by author Calvin. Chapter 2. Mac once more took in a deep breath and exhaled in a dispassionate sigh as the edge of the foggy woods came into view. Much like the name implied, he could already see small whispers of fog surrounding the trees, making them barely visible to his eyes. Still, he didn't know what it was about the forest that gave him the hibby-jibbies. Nothing about the forest seemed particularly threatening. Still, while the forest was not expressly forbidden to anyone to enter, it was heavily frowned upon. Barrett laughed loudly and clapped him on the shoulder. Don't look so glum. After we find and kill the boar, we'll eat like the warlord for the rest of the winter. The thought of the warlord made him pale greatly. As long as he doesn't inquire where we killed a boar. Barrett laughed again, although Gabriel heard the nervousness in it. He couldn't blame the larger youth for being nervous. Heck, he'd been lying if he were to say he wasn't nervous. Not just about entering the woods before them, he was worried about what may happen to them if the warlord found out they had gone inside the very place he frowned upon anyone going near, let alone inside. Though truthfully, no one knew why it was that way. Old man Farmer Johnson said the edict came from the warlord's grandfather, and that was all anyone knew. Gabriel pushes all his negative thoughts to the side and stills his nerves. He had to focus on the task at hand. The two walked in the woods and felt the coldness of the fog overtake him. Gabriel couldn't describe it, but something felt off. The fog itself wasn't terribly cold, yet he felt shivers run up and down his spine that caused his whole body to shake. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw Barrett was shivering as well. He also noticed Barrett subtly gripping his spear so tightly that his knuckles had started to turn white. He finally noticed Gabriel looking at him, and he started to rub his arms furiously. Damn, it's cold. Makes me wish I'd brought the sweater my mom knitted for me. Gabriel laughed and nodded his head, but he knew he was lying. He rubbed his arms, but he felt no goosebumps on his skin, and he didn't feel cold or clammy. No. They weren't shivering because they were cold, but why didn't he know what was causing it? They both pushed it to the back of their minds and continued onward into the woods. They walked deeper and deeper into the forest until the sun started to get low. They both looked at each other and nodded, knowing they would have to make camp for the night and eat a bit. Gabriel went around and gathered dry leaves and dead branches, while Barrett grabbed stones to set in a ring. Gabriel threw the gatherings to the center of the pile, while Barrett pulled out his lighter. He hit the striker a few times before he got a flame, lit a stick on fire, and threw it into the pile. Soon, a small fire started, and both of them were warming their hands. Once their hands were warm, they decided to eat some food. Barrett pulled out several pieces of rabbit jerky, while Mac pulled out an apple. He didn't realize how hungry he was. After only a few bites, all that was left of the apple was the core itself. Mac threw it away. He was still hungry, and although he had more food, he knew he needed to save it. Out of the corner of he watched Barrett skewer the jerky and then heat it up over their flame. After just a couple of minutes, he pulled the pieces back and tore into them with gusto as he ripped the meat apart, sinew by sinew. Mac's face must have had a longing look as Barrett smiled and offered him a couple pieces. Mac wanted to refuse, but the smoky, gamey flavor was too much, and his stomach grumbled and made a loud noise that he swore echoed throughout the forest. Barrett laughed. Mac grumbled, and in the end he took the two offered pieces. He hadn't had any kind of meat in 2 weeks, and tried his best not to salivate before he himself tore into the meat, much like his friend. The savory, smoky texture was fantastic, and each bite brought a kiss of sweetness that only enhanced the meat. Much like the apple, he devoured the meat quickly, but this time his stomach was full and it quieted down. He noticed Barrett's frown as he watched the way Mac ate with gusto. You've been living off apples and oats for a while, haven't you? Look, if you need meat, we'll happily help out. Mac tried to avoid his friend's gaze so his embarrassment wouldn't be evident. We don't need help, but it can't be helped with what we eat. I've only been able to help out at the orchard and farm. My mom gets most of what we need from trading the medicinal herbs she grows, but without Dad. Barrett didn't say anything, and Mac didn't want to say any more. Instead, he pulled out his sleeping roll and laid down for the night. He didn't know how long he lay there, but when he rolled over, he saw that Barrett was asleep with the fire being put out. While he appreciated his friend's offer to help, he knew that he and his mother must stand on their own 2 feet, or else there wouldn't be any place for them in the village. Mac snuggled into his sleeping roll and soon fell asleep. The next morning, the two were up and early, and already on the move. They knew they would have to find something today or go home empty-handed, and that was an option for neither of them. Finally, that afternoon, they found what they were looking for. They had come across a river where some deer were grazing. They were debating on just killing one of them when one of them made a noise and they fled the field. Mac had started cursing when they saw what had scared the deer. It was a boar. It was large, though smaller than the deer, with a mixture of brown and black fur. Its tusks were easy, as long as their arms from their elbows to their fingertips. The boar didn't seem afraid as it went over to the water and greedily lapped it up. Barrett calmly took off his pack. You remember the plan? Yeah, you got it. Just make sure to kill it. If all we do is piss the thing off, I can't outrun it. Neither can I. That's why I'm glad if I do have to outrun it, I have a plan in mind. And how do you plan to survive a pissed off boar? Barrett smiled. I don't outrun the boar. I just gotta run faster than you. Max smirked, and the two clasped each other's inner forearms in handshake. He left the bush and crept towards the boar. He moved one step in front of the other until he stepped on a dry twig and broke it. The boar's head snapped up from the river, and it turned to face Mac with a murderous, bloodthirsty look in its dark eyes. Mac wasted no time and ran across the clearing. The boar was hot on his feet. He swore he could feel its hot breath on the back of his neck. He knew the boar was catching up to him, but he was almost there. He looked up and saw Barrett standing on a branch with a spear in hand. When he ran past the tree, he knew Barrett would drop down, and sure enough, he heard the boar let out a large squeal. Max slowed down and looked back to see Barrett on top of the boar, his spear through its neck. The boar, though, wasn't dead. It was fighting against Barrett, who was covered in sweat as its veins and muscles bulged, as he used all of his strength to hold the animal down. Gabe rushed over and aimed a spear and thrust into the boar's head. It writhed for a moment or two before it went limp and slack-jawed. Both of them pulled their spears out and smiled. They had done it. They bagged a boar. Mac fell to the ground. His heart raced, while Barrett let out loud whoops of excitement. The only question on Mac's mind is going to be how to get this massive pig home. He was about to ask the question when they felt a slight tremor. It was very faint at first. In fact, Mac wasn't even sure what he had felt, but the look on Barrett's face said he felt it too. He felt it again, more powerful this time. The tremors got worse and shorter until it felt like they were experiencing a quake. Then they heard a roar, and a monster entered the clearing. It was large. It needed to duck under some low-hanging branches to avoid hitting its head, and its cherry red skin bulged with muscles as large as their heads. It was nearly naked, save for what looked to be a deerskin loincloth around its waist. Its black-bearded face possessed a set of long horns and two tusks that were larger than the boar's. In its right hand was a large wooden club with metal studs in it. Both of them froze as it was looking at them with cold, cruel eyes and marched towards them, the ground thundering under each of its footsteps. End reading. Wow, Calvin, great excerpt. You're leaving me on the edge of my seat at the end of that scene. What a great hook. I don't know if that's the end of the chapter or if that's just where you had written up to. But yeah, I mean, that was about a good time. Wow, what a great moment. What a great moment. I think that my that ending was my absolute favorite moment. I was expecting like, okay, this is just going to be like a setup for like a simple boar hunt, and it's about the two boys bonding, and then you have this like beast show up, which kind of gave me a sense of like a centaur type vibey creature with the beard, a big club, and basically trillion times their size for the not trillion, but much larger than them. And very menacing. I was like, wow, they're not. One of them's gonna die. Yeah, Barrett's gonna die in this chapter. Like, dang. Well, Barrett, it was nice knowing you. Oh man, this is going to be really interesting. I'm so intrigued. So I actually really liked. I think the strengths of this, you did a really good job setting up the characters. So when I think about what worked really well, the character development was really strong. I felt like I had a very clear sense of Mac and Barrett's personality, and that was well done. The world building, we don't really do too much world building in this section. The world building is it's kind of so the world building moments would be when it's referring to the village, what the forest is like, what their hunt is going to be like. These are a lot of the world building elements. There's not too much in this chapter per se, so no comments. There are some dialogue moments. I like what you have for the dialogue. I think it could just be cleaned up, but I think with where the dialogue is at now for this current draft, I think it works. I think the biggest opportunity for this one, I'm fine with plot because it's hard to see what's going to happen next. I think the biggest opportunity might be maybe the pacing or the tone in the first section. The first section of the chapter was dragging a little bit for me, but that could also be because I want more action. I wanted a little bit more action. And I haven't gotten anything yet in the story. But by the time by the time we hit the start of the second day with them about to go on, or that next day with them about to hunt the boar, I was like, then I was kind of pulled into it. And then like, even though I was like kind of intrigued, then this creature showing up, I was like, yes, definitely intrigued. So that was very, very cool. Awesome. So let's see. And by the way, what for those of you here in the chat, what do you guys think of it? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What do you think of that ending? Did you like that big, like, creepy creature that showed up at the end? I'm like really intrigued. I want to know what this creature is. Like, Calvin, I'm sure you're probably going to watch this on the replay, but like, I want to know what this creature is. And I know the story is called what? The Rise of Gabriel. So I'm like, I really want to know. So, all right, let's see what we got here. So, getting into the story itself. Let's start from the top. So, like I said, I think the biggest opportunity is kind of the pacing. The first, like, third of the chapter just feels a little slow. And because I know the first chapter, chapter 1, was doing a lot of character setup and world building, I might recommend trying to like add some type of event, or maybe starting the chapter just add something like a they like, because the first chapter is them kind of just wandering around, and I like their playfulness. So the thing I like is I love Barrett and Gabe's. I like Barrett and Gabe's back and forth. That is my favorite part of the first half of the chapter, because they're joking nature with each other does great character development, and it's fun. And we get the creepy vibe of the forest. Yeah, I was like, I like this. Barrett laughed loudly and clapped him on the shoulder. Don't look so gloomy. After we find and kill the boar, we'll eat like the warlord for the rest of the winter. Okay, cool. We do a little bit of world building here. I want to know what the warlord is. And then he doesn't like a warlord. All right. So good foreshadowing right there. That's fine. Okay. So that's fine. Old Man Farmer Johnson. We kind of do a little bit of world building here. Because a lot of this first part, until the sun started to get low, because like nothing happens in this first part of the chapter, and I get why, because you're really wanting to build up the tension, and they basically set a fire. I feel like for me personally, I got pulled into the chapter about here, about halfway, which is what, page 6 of 12, but the text is also bigger. So I kind of got pulled in the chapter once they were started talking. Because then I was liking their like character development, and then that was fun. Then we go to the next day. What I would recommend, because I understand why you started it the way you did, because you want to build up. And I think you do a good job of setting up the vibe of these woods are like foggy and creepy. But I think there needs to be a moment. I think there needs to be some type of action, and maybe starting it off at the top of the chapter so the reader's pulled in immediately. Right. But I think it should be like a false alarm, right? Like, oh, they're like chasing through the fog through this forest, and they think they found the boar, and it turns out to be a squirrel, or it turns out to be nothing. And maybe they see, oh, what are these large footprints? And then they argue about what the large footprints are. And he's like, no, dummy, they're boar footprints, but maybe it's really that beast that comes in later. So I think that would be a way to go about it. But yeah, I think it just needs something. It needs something that really pulls the reader in immediately. And that's specifically because chapter 1, you didn't have any major crazy action moments unless you've done editing and adjusting. So that'd be my recommendation. So, and I think, but the character development is good. The vibe of the place is good. I know you do some world building, but I don't know, like the warlord thing is interesting, but then you kind of touch upon some characters, the village. I don't think it's too important right now, because I think you want to pull the reader into the action, and you want the reader to care about the characters in some type of dangerous situation, especially since you kind of set up this boar hunt in the first chapter. Now we want there to be some stakes to it. So we feel like, oh, maybe they're going to fail this boar hunt. and then everything's all over. Yeah, but then when we get to their conversation at the fire, I think that's all good. And yeah, and I think that actually works once we kind of get to like the food situation. I think you kind of touched upon that in the first chapter. So I didn't have any issues with that. I think that was fine. And then we get to the second day, and the boar fight is great. It was large. Yep. And then their banter is always funny. I love the friends banter. The only thing I might consider adding to the boar fight is adding a moment where it feels like the boar might hurt one of them. So that way there's just a little clear so you up the stakes a little bit. It feels like the two of them take out the boar relatively easily. So I might create a moment where the boar fights back and then maybe it's like about to trample one of them. Um I think that would up the stakes. So that's what I would recommend. But I think the way they took it down is fine. And then the tremors was great. Once we did the tremors, I was like, "Oh, what do you mean by tremors?" And then I would say make this a new paragraph once they do the tremors because that's a new idea. And then the tremors is interesting. And then that ending is great. I want to know more. So yeah, that's all that I got for you, my friend. It's definitely I'm like more intrigued by the story now, and I'm very, very curious to see what this creature is. And I want to learn more about the fantastical nature of this world. Because so far we've just been introduced to the small forest village. And I want to just know more because I'm intrigued. So definitely looking forward to what more you have in the future. So thank you, my friend. Appreciate you. All right. And what do we got next? Let's remove that. Perfect. So, once again, Calvin, thank you for submitting that. Nice story. Woo! It's like getting a little fantasy story. What I'm loving is I feel like we're getting like all the different vibes today with these different stories, which I love, love, love. And remember, if you want feedback on your story, submit now. I may not be able to get to it on today's stream, but we'll make sure that it's queued up for future streams. Absolutely. It's all linked down in the YouTube description down below. So definitely a great story. We're going to be hopping to the next one in just a moment. It looks like I have queued up next Awaking Cleopatra by a fantasy romance by author Christina Whisler. So Christina, I got your story queued up next. We're going to be hopping into it in just a moment. Woo! I was like, nice. We're getting in a little bit of romance for all our romance friends here in the community. Mm. All right, my friends. So I am feeling pretty good about that. I feel like we've got a really nice start to the stream, to the stories today. And yeah, so before we hop into the next one, let me just do a quick call out to the ReadNow YouTube channel membership. We actually have, I just rebranded the membership. So there's now actually 2 tiers to our channel membership program. Now, what is the channel membership? Essentially, the ReadNow channel membership, and I'll pull this up on the screen. Let me hold this up. So essentially, the YouTube channel membership is a monthly subscription for a way that you can support the channel and then also get feedback on your stories. So let me pull this up. For those of you who aren't aware of the YouTube channel membership, how it works. Here we go. So essentially, there's 2 tiers for the YouTube channel membership. And for anybody who wants to check out more, who wants to sign up, or just learn more about the YouTube channel membership, I'm going to drop it down in the chat. It's also linked down in the YouTube description as well. So for you to become a channel member, there's 2 tiers right now. The $4.99 tier is the ReadNow Writer. You'll get the icons, you'll get access to the icons and the emojis, which is super cool. Like, I'm very happy. And by the way, friends, for all of you who've been channel members, the 6-month channel membership icon, I am really looking forward to see once we have our 6-month members. So I think the longest members is just about to hit the 5-month mark. So really cool. I was like, I'm so happy how these icons came out. And then channel members, of course, get access to the ReadNow channel emojis. And then there will be member shout outs. There's also member specific live streams. For channel members, you'll get access to a member-specific live stream, which I'm going to be doing maybe a couple times a month, generally going to be on Wednesdays, where you can watch the live stream and ask questions about the writing topic. This last Monday, our first channel member live stream was about how to become an author tuber. I think it was about 2 hours and it was really helpful. So for anybody who wanted to know like what it was like to be an author tuber and what the step-by-step process is, it's a complete beginner's guide. So it was really cool. The live stream, the cool thing with that channels member live stream was you got to ask questions and get feedback on what you're doing. And then excellent. And then what else do we got? And then you'll also get discounted services for reading and editing services that I talked about previously for my writing services that I offer. Additionally, you're also going to get access to a new writing sprint and accountability group. Our first group session will be this Monday. Basically, it's going to be a closed session where you can just show up. It's very informal, and you can just show up and come get some help on your writing, whether you want to just get some writing in. And it's going to be a way for us to do some goal setting and talk about like how do we help keep each other accountable. It's a great way to check in on a week by week basis if you're struggling with staying consistent with your writing. So this is going to be something that I'm going to try out. We're going to have our next one on Monday. So you're getting all of these just for the $4.99 channel membership. And then if you subscribe to the $9.99 channel membership, right? So then if you subscribe to the $9.99 one, the $4.99 I'm calling the ReadNow Writer tier. And then the $9.99 one, which is the ReadNow member tier, you'll get access to a free copy of the Freaky Friday anthology, which for those of you guys who haven't, it was our anthology we did as a community from a result of the Flash Fiction contest. You'll get an ebook copy of the Freaky Friday anthology. And in addition, you also get access to our ReadNow member critique group. So this is a critique group that meets once a month where you can bring your story. This is a closed session critique group. So this is private, not live stream. And essentially you can bring an excerpt of your story, you read it to other writers, and everyone gives different feedback. This is a great way to get feedback on your writing from a variety of writing genre, from a different subset of authors. Right now, like I said, this is for the $9.99 tier. Usually for critique groups of this nature, a lot of content creators and authors generally charge way more for this type of thing. Like usually it's like well above 100, if any, for these types of things. So definitely highlight this. You're getting it for such a great price. The $9.99 is definitely a very good price. So highly recommend. That's what you get for becoming a ReadNow member tier. Oof, awesome. And definitely if you guys have any questions, drop them down in the chat and I'll answer your questions about either. Let's see. I think I saw a couple questions pop in. Tiara. So like, oh, hey, quick question. I have a screenplay I want to submit. Is there a specific way it should be formatted? Like, does Google Doc mess up the formatting or anything? Or should I be fine if I just upload? From Scrivener. That's a great question. My screenwriting software I use is Final Draft, which is the industry standard for screenwriting. But granted, I know you have to invest money into it. Scrivener is a great other option. I would say if you could try Google Docs, Tiara, and see how it formats. If Scrivener has some type of like JPEG or not J, if Scrivener gives you a PDF export, I would suggest. Then I want to be able to edit. Then I want to be able to highlight. Yeah, Tiara, I would say submit. Okay, so submit through Google Doc and let's chat. I would say just submit it through Google Doc and I'll see if it's doable because I know sometimes Google Doc messes up formatting for the text because scripts are very specific, and I'll follow up with you if there's a better way to upload it. So great question, my friend. Absolutely. Because I know we've definitely had our share of screenwriters submit in the community before. All right. My bad. You cracked me up so much. You're like, I was gonna be like add to the romance, and then I remembered I'm writing a multi-book slow burn. That cracks me up. My bad. Let's see. Mask. You're like, hey, Koff, if we buy the second tier, will we get tier 1 as well, or do we have to buy both tiers again? That's a great question. I should have clarified that. If you buy tier 2, you get access to everything in tier 1. So it's cumulative. Great question, Mast. Great question. I should have said that. When yeah, because it shows it on the screen when no, we don't want that one. So it shows it on the screen when you're checking out the description. I should have read that aloud. But when you get the ReadNow, the $9.99 tier, you get includes access to all the perks from the previous levels. So right now I only offer 2 tiers. I think YouTube gives you the option to offer up to 6 tiers. I don't know, maybe in the future, but for now I feel pretty good about 2 tiers. So yeah, if you get the $9.99 tier, you'll get everything at the $4.99 as well. So it's cumulative. So great question, Mouse. Absolutely. So yeah, then essentially then if you're paying for the $9.99 one, you're getting so much value out of the $9.99 one, because with $9.99, not only are you getting access to the critique group, but then you're also getting access to the channel members' live streams, our new accountability group, the icons, the emojis, and you're also getting access to discounted editing and writing services. So for anybody who's you're eventually going to be looking for an editor, or even if you're looking for alpha reading or beta reading services, which I also do, discounted services. And when I say discounted, they're huge discounts, especially compared to industry standards. I promise you, when I say discounts, it's not like amazing 2% discount. They're good sized discounts. Because I try to be affordable, because I recognize editing a book, getting feedback from readers, costs a lot of money. So I'm trying to help everyone out here while also being enough to value my time. So great question, Mast. Woo! All right. So I am feeling great, but maybe I'm just fully caffeinated. Okay. So with that, once again, definitely become a channel member. I dropped the link. Also, if you want to become it, all you have to do is just hit the join button below the YouTube live stream if you want to look at all the different things and sign up. I need to update the video. I need to update that intro video to now be clear for the 2 tiers. I haven't updated the intro video yet. Wow, my bad. You're like, oh, so 99% off, right? You're like, wow, no. Oh man, it's I know, there we go. Putting my foot in my mouth for not clarifying. I'm like, huge discounts, 99.9%, No, I think usually what it tends to be, and I kind of, the discount that I give kind of changes depending on if it's a referral discount or if it's a first time writer discount. I generally try to give bigger discounts, anywhere between 20 to 40% discounts for first time, for a client who signs up for the first time, because I want them to see that my work is the best that they will ever get from any type of editor in the field. I feel very confident about my capability, which is why I discount it so much, especially for first time. Especially for first time. You still making me laugh though, my bad. You totally making me laugh. Hey, what's up, Lillian? So where's the link for the members critique? Great question, Lillian. So the private channel member, or the private members critique, I need to create a post on it. What I would I was yeah, and I mean, I guess maybe I should create maybe I should create a Discord channel. I should probably create a private Discord channel for the YouTube channel members critique group. That'd probably actually help me centralize the information. But essentially what I'm going to do is sometime today, I'm going to post an update on the community post tab on the ReadNow YouTube channel. That's going to give all the updates for everything. Our critique group's going to be next week. I'm going to let members know there's a couple of different times, so that way people can choose which time we all want to meet at. Previously, in the past couple months, before we did the different tiers, we always did the channel members critique group on the 15th. Now that it's at the $9.99 tier, I wanted to give everyone involved a little bit more accessibility, so that way we can have a little bit more accessibility with scheduling. So great question. I would say just be on the lookout. Check the post tab on the ReadNow YouTube channel later today. If not, or just refresh and check it tomorrow. And that'll kind of give you more details. So great question. There's no link for the members critique group quite yet, but great question. And the reason there's no link is because it's channel members will bring their own. I think the way that I've been doing it is channel members will bring their own story, and I've kind of just been corresponding with emails. But there's probably a better way to do it though. It's like I might centralize it around Discord channel or a Discord, like a private Discord channel in the ReadNow Discord. Yeah, I need to think about that. There's got to be a better way to centralize it. So. But I mean, every single critique group, we've had a high turnout for all the critique groups. So I think everybody definitely gets value from it. But I think from the information perspective, so far I've just focused on all the like channel member stuff. I basically announce in posts or on the live streams. And then I connect with everyone via email. So great question. Lillian, what we can do is if I have your email, I would say maybe just shoot me an email, Lillian, and I could let you know the details if you want me to email that stuff to you later today. So that way I'll make sure that you get the information on your end and you don't miss anything. I'd be happy to do that. Awesome. And with that being said, let's hop into our next story. And of course, any other questions, drop the question, let me know, and we'll see. So we're going to be queuing up the next story, Awaking Cleopatra. And I believe we also did, and yeah, Lillian, I think you have my email. I'm pretty sure, Lillian, you do have my email. My email is also linked down in the description. It's also on the YouTube channel. I basically exist everywhere on all the social media platforms these days, so I feel pretty confident. Most people can find me somewhere. Yeah, I was like, I'm on all the social media platforms right now. I think the only one I mean, the ones that I'm just not consistent on right now is X, formerly Twitter. I'm not on Snapchat or Pinterest. So some of these minor ones I'm not on, but I'm on all the major social media platforms. So, all right, let's, before I continue on rambling, let's continue on to Awaking Cleopatra. All right. Awaking Cleopatra, fantasy romance by author Christina Whisler. I stood at the window, gazing at the sprawling city of Los Angeles, the twinkling lights reflecting in my amber eyes. My name is Cleopatra DuPont, and I've always felt a strange pull towards this city, as if some unseen force drew me here. Little did I know that my life was about to change forever tonight. The cityscape was a mesmerizing tapestry of lights and shadows, a pulsating heart of modernity that seemed to conceal something far more ancient and mysterious. The cool glass of the window pane pressed against my forehead, grounding me in the present. Yet my mind wandered through the labyrinthine streets below, drawn by an inexplicable force. You sense it, don't you, my queen? An enigmatic voice startled me from my reverie. I turned to see a woman of timeless beauty, her red hair cascading down her shoulders and her molten golden eyes shimmering with ancient knowledge. Her presence was both unexpected and unsettling, yet there was a familiarity in her gaze that I couldn't quite place. The magic, that lurks beneath the surface of this modern realm, she continued, her voice like a melody from a forgotten time. Her words resonated within me, stirring something deep and dormant. I felt a shiver run down my spine, a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Who are you? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. The question hung in the air, heavy with anticipation. The woman's eyes held mine, her expression enigmatic and unreadable. I am a guardian of the old ways, she replied, her voice filled with a quiet power. I have come to guide you, Cleopatra, for you are destined for greatness. The city holds secrets, and you are the key to unlocking them. Her words sent a wave of curiosity and apprehension through me. The city had always felt like a living entity, its secrets hidden just out of reach. Now, the stranger was offering me a glimpse into its true nature, a world hidden beneath the surface of reality. What do you mean by magic? I asked, my mind racing with possibilities. The woman's smile was comforting and mysterious, hinting at ancient wisdom in her eyes. Magic is the essence of life, the force that binds all things, she explained. It is the power that flows through the veins of this city, connecting the past, present, and future. You, Cleopatra, are a part of this tapestry, a thread woven into the fabric of destiny. Her words vividly evoked a world where magic was not just a figment of imagination, but a tangible force. With its towering skyscrapers and bustling streets, the city suddenly seemed like a vast, unexplored territory filled with wonders and dangers alike. I stood there, gazing into the enigmatic eyes of the woman before me. I knew that my life was about to take a turn down a path I had never imagined. With its hidden magic and ancient secrets, the city of Los Angeles was calling to me, and I was ready to answer. End reading. All right. So we got a little slightly little shorter excerpt there, but that actually worked out. What an interesting little intrigue. So I know we did a previous excerpt of this story. I think this must have been sometime late last year. It might have been back no, because I stopped the show in November. Might have been in December, if I believe. So I think we did a previous excerpt of this story back in December. And I think overall, I love the tone of it. I think the tone of it is very intriguing to me. I'm like, ooh, we kind of get this like kind of mysterious undertone. It didn't feel like it was too on the nose, and I felt like it was very smooth. It got the points across, and I feel like I was kind of pulled into it. I wanted to know more, and I wanted a couple of detail on a couple of things, but I don't think it was anything that necessarily detracted. I think there's only one thing that like needs more description, but that could just be me. I think I think looking at it, I'm asking myself like, okay, character development. Do I have a sense of who Cleopatra is? Not quite. I don't think I understand who she is just from this excerpt. But once again, this is such a small excerpt. That's a little debatable. Um, so I wanted to get a better understanding of who the character is. Beyond that, like, okay, she's like been thrust into this world and there's a destiny. Is this Cleopatra like from the Egyptian legend, or is Cleopatra just her name? Um, Yeah, but granted, this is an excerpt. I know this is a little into it, so this could have been set up already, but that's just something on my mind. The world building was the most intriguing part to me. I actually liked the world building that we've done so far. And I think you kind of framed it in kind of this like mystical way, which I thought was intriguing. Let's see. Dialogue was fine. Could have been cleaned up a little bit, but yeah, I'll touch upon the dialogue. And then the plot, I was good with the plot. I liked the plot, and the tone was good for me. So I like the tone of it. I think stylistically, Lillian, you mentioned, got confused by the mix of present and past tenses in the first paragraph. The story is really intriguing. Yeah, and I mean, I think there's definitely a couple of grammar opportunities for like cleaning up with tense shifts and the dialogue for sure. But I mean, once again, you're at such an early stage. I think it being aware of these things is helpful, but a lot of these things will generally be fixed and cleaned up during the editing stage of it, during revision and editing. And so let me get into it and let's see what we got here. So, and then let's see, Mass, I saw that you asked that. Let me go back and look at Christina's submission. I forgot. I don't think this is the beginning. I think this is a little ways into it, I believe. It looks like this is a novel about 40K. Okay, yeah, so this is a novel. Definitely for sure. Yeah, so I think, Mass, this is a later excerpt, but I'm not 100% certain. Based off the last excerpt that they shared back last year, I believe this is I think this is at some point in the story. I don't know how far into it is, though. Great question. Thanks so much, Ichthy. Yeah, usually our critique streams generally go for about 3 hours, give or take. Thank you so much, my man. I appreciate you. Let's see. I stood at the window, gazing at the sprawling city of Los Angeles, the twinkling lights. The cityscape was a mess. And I actually like this. So I like the setting. Let's see. And I've always felt a strange pull to, as if someone seemed forced to me here. Little did I know that my life was about to change forever tonight. Let's see. The cityscape was a mesmerizing tapestry of lights and shadows, a pulsating heart of modernity. Is modernity a word? I feel like I've heard that modernity, the quality or condition of being modern, a modern way of thinking. I guess it does work. The cityscape was a mesmerizing tapestry of lights and shadows, a pulsating heart of modernity that seemed to conceal something far more ancient and mysterious. That seemed to conceal that concealed. And I think, right, this is just editor me, right? I would just go with that concealed. This makes it a little stronger. A pulsating heart of modernity that concealed something ancient and mysterious. So, yeah, and that's just me being an editor. But I think this is a nice little setup. I like this. This kind of gives like a vibe. And I like the vibe that you're going for. Like it's not like extremely mystic, but it's like this undertone, which I'm actually kind of intrigued by. Makes me want to learn more about the cityscape. And I liked when you use words like this, grounding me in the present, yet my mind wandered through the labyrinthine streets below, drawn by an inexplicable force. And I think your word choice in like this paragraph sets a really intriguing tone. Yeah. Master, I see what you're saying. Like I hate not knowing as it's hard to critique since critiquing an earlier section is a bit different from a later one. Um yeah, I mean, that's a good call out. Maybe what I'll do in the future, Masters, I'll add that as a question, as an additional question on the submission form, because especially for when the author is not present in the when I do the reading, that's actually that's a good idea. Should probably add that as a question. Let's see. You sense it, don't you, my queen? An enigmatic voice startled from my reverie. I don't. I turned to see a woman of timeless beauty, her red hair cascading down her shoulders and her molten gold eyes shimmering with ancient knowledge. I love that. That's a nice little like short description. Red hair cascading down her shoulders and molten gold eyes. Very beautiful, right? They're like ancient beauty. The magic that lurks beneath the surface of this modern realm, she continued, her voice like a melody from a forgotten time. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love your descriptions. I love your style and descriptions. Very, very fun. Her voice like a melody from a forgotten time. I like that. So I like this. So obviously our this guardian, obviously this what's her name? Who is this? This enigmatic redhead. Uh, our timeless beauty. So obviously, our timeless beauty is supposed to be enigmatic and supposed to be mysterious. And I think I've come to guide you. Uh, Cindy, welcome, by the way. Welcome over on our Twitch community. Absolutely, Cindy. If there's something you saw that stood out to you, definitely feel free to offer suggestions if there's something you liked or something you could think about being improved. Because as always, I always try to share with everyone in the community. Our goal with submitting is we want to help the authors make the story as incredible as possible. And all feedback is subjective. So if there's something that stood out to you, absolutely drop a comment. Okay. So I like this one. Let's see, what else do we got? So I'm a guardian of the old ways, she replied, her voice filled with a quiet power. I've come to guide you, Cleopatra, for you're destined for greatness. The city holds secrets and you are the key to unlocking them. So I'm intrigued by this. I think my only concern with this is it feels almost a little like generic in a way. And I want this to I want it to be like more like I want to punch it up a little bit. I want it to be more unique. I am a guardian of the old ways. I have come to guide you, Cleopatra, for you are destined for greatness. I think it's because I've heard this type of line so many times. I've come to guide you, Cleopatra, for I've come to guide you, Cleopatra. You will destroy you will save you will be the block you will blockade you will be the salvation to our eternal suffering. No, that doesn't make sense. You will be our salvation. I don't know. I think something. I want something that makes it like a little bit more unique. So I would just think about it only because like that I feel like I've heard that phrase a couple of times, and I want this timeless beauty to be super cool because I'm intrigued by her, and I think you could punch up her dialogue a little bit more. The city holds secrets, and you are the key. And like even like this, okay, so the city holds secrets and you are the key. So I don't even think you need to unlock them. The city holds secrets. And I think this could actually almost be stronger like this. The city holds secrets. You are the key. I think that actually makes it a little stronger, but that's just a stylistic suggestion. Her words send a wave of curiosity and apprehension. The city has always felt like a living entity. Its secrets hidden just out of reach. Let's see, my bad. My bad. You said maybe main character Cleopatra is a descendant of the original, and the ancient woman is the original. You know, I actually wonder that as well. My bad. That might be it. It's hard to say because this is such a small excerpt and we haven't read too much. It's hard to say if this is the Cleopatra of history or if this is a descendant or if this is like an alternate timeline. Still hard to say. So it could go, and it could go in any direction. Cindy, those are some good recommendations. Like, I desire to hear something describing the red hair, like velvety red hair or vibrant red hair. When we go to the description, I turn to see a woman of timeless beauty, her red hair cascading down her shoulders, her vibrant red hair, her velvety. I like vibrant a little bit more. Her vibrant red hair cascading down her shoulders. I mean, I think we could even go something more unique because she goes molten gold here. So I feel like we should do something that's like a fire base, like that's her fiery red hair. And I think that plays into the imagery. Her fiery red hair cascading down her shoulders. And and her molten golden eyes shimmering with ancient knowledge. I actually like that, Cindy. Great recommendation. And I think masked why that is because as you said it feels generic. I think it's because of the dialogue. I think because I'm actually kind of intrigued by it because they're what the author's doing is they're kind of setting up like this landscape for it. And I think what they have to do is they just have to make the dialogue more like they have to punch up and make it a little bit more unique. Only because like we've heard that hero We've heard this type of dialogue of like, you are the hero, you're the only one to save the world. We've heard it so many times in the media, we've read it in books. So then we're like, how do we make it different? And I think if we adjust the dialogue to make it feel like these characters are these characters alone, I think that's how it would punch it up, honestly. Her fire flaming. Oh, dang, Cindy, that's it. That's actually a good call. Her flaming red hair. Good suggestion. Flaming is better. Let's see. The magic that lurks beneath the surface of this modern realm. Because I feel like what the author's trying to do, right, Christina? So like, because you're trying to make this timeless beauty be like mysterious, so you don't want to give away too much. And I understand that. I understand your intention here. You want timeless beauty to be interesting while not giving away enough. I think what you have to do to make it come across less generic is I think you need to give the reader some type of clue that makes this like, what is unique about this plot, right? What's something unique about this world or this plot line? Because I like your language. The language is cool. I think it's just adjusting the dialogue. You sons, don't you, my queen? Let's see, the magic that lurks beneath the surface of this modern realm. And then because like when we think about magic, you're like, so what is the magic of this world and how is the magic in this world unique? And I think that is the number one question to think about. How is the magic in this world unique and different than magic in other universes? And I think when you describe that, I think that helps make it more clear for the reader. If you say the magic that lurks beneath the surface of this modern realm, but like what does that mean? What does magic mean? Because magic can mean so many different things to so many different people. I want to know the magic. I would almost instead of you saying magic, I would use a word that's specific to your world or language. God, I'm blanking. The secretive, the demons. There you go. The demons. The demons. No, that's not. There you go. I'm gonna go Star Wars. The midi-chlorians that lurk beneath the surface of the modern realm. You're like, what? What the heck is midi-chlorians? Right? But you see what I'm saying, right? You want to use something that's unique that kind of takes I like the power that lurks. The power. I like that a little bit more. I feel like there's still something that goes even deeper, but it's like because we don't understand the magic system yet because this is such a small excerpt. But I think Christina, when you're checking this out, I think that's what you should think about. Like, let's like take it in like a deeper direction so we create more intrigue and foreshadow around whatever this system is. And then because like the reader's coming into it with expectations of Egyptian culture, I am a guardian of the old ways. I am a guardian of the Egyptian ways. I would do something like this. Maybe it's not Egyptian at all, but it's just something to think about. So it makes it even more impactful. And then it makes the reader ask, like, oh, what is Egyptian ways? As compared to old ways, just makes it feel more generic. So that way you can go more in depth with the reader understanding your magic system. And maybe it has nothing to do with Egyptian. That was just an idea. The secret that lurks. Ooh, that's the power that lurks beneath the surface of this modern round. The secret. Ooh, actually, and because she mentioned keys in another part. The secret of the keys that lurks beneath the surface of this modern realm. I don't know if keys is related because you used keys in another dialogue, but this ties it in. The secret of the key that lurks beneath the surface of this modern realm. I'm like, well, that's actually kind of interesting. I kind of like that. The secret of the keys that lurks beneath the surface of this modern realm. Ways of the ancients, maybe. Interesting. I am a guardian. Ways of the ancients. I'm a guardian of the ways of the ancients. I don't like the second use of the personally. I am a guardian of the Egyptian ways. I'm a guardian of ways of the ancients. I am a guardian of ways of the ancients. I like that idea of ways of the ancients. I think there's a better way to frame it with that word choice. I have come to guide you, and then we went over that. I'm a guardian of the ancient ways. Yeah, I'm a guardian of the Egyptian ways, of the ancient. I am a guardian of the ancient ways. And I think that's a little better. I still think we can take it like a step deeper personally. I am a guardian. And now let's use like a different word for guardian. I think we can do something that's even more unique than guardian. I am a enforcer. Enforcer actually makes it a little bit more aggressive. I am a defender. I am a defender of the ancient way. Oh, wow. That's actually a little bit more interesting. I kind of like that, actually. I am a defender of the ancient way, saying that it's one way. I am a defender of the true way, of the true ancient way. I mean, true. I am a shield of the ancient ways. Ooh, I like that, Cindy. I like where you're coming. I am a shield of the ancient way. Ooh, that's better. Herald, seneschal, legate, stewardess. I think shield, actually. I think I'm the most intrigued by shield. I'm a herald of the ancient way, but shield might not be the right intention for what Christina's trying to get across. So like I think herald, seneschal, legate. I think herald could work as well. I think I think herald would be my favorite personally. um Stewardess could work as well. But yeah, I think this is just ways to spice it up a little bit. Let's see. Now the stranger was offering me a glimpse into a world hidden beneath the surface of reality. And then, right, so they ask about magic, right? I asked my mind, the wind smile was comforting. Magic is the essence of life, the force that binds all things, she explained. It is the power that flows through the veins of the city, connecting the past, present, and future. You, Cleopatra, are a part of this tapestry, a thread woven into the fabric of destiny. Magic is the essence of life, the force that binds all things. I think I mean, granted, we don't know what time period we are in. And this feels like this might be a little bit of a later time, but anybody in the world already has an idea of what magic is, right? So when she asked, what do you mean by magic? Um, but granted, she did say that the character's mind is racing with possibilities. So she does have an understanding. It's like, okay, so never mind. The one smell is comforting. What do you mean by magic? Magic is the essence of life, the force that binds all things, she explained. It is the power that flows through the veins of the city, connecting the past, present, and future. I think what I would do is I would add this character, this timeless beauty, doing something that uses magic. Because I don't, right now, the way that she explains is like, okay, magic is like the life force of the world. Awesome. I love that. What does magic look like? As somebody who's a magic lover, what does magic look like? Does it look like she's like, I am a protector of the ancient ways. And as she says this, a glow surrounds her as the ancient light within her eyes radiates in auras in of grandiose, grand beauty around the world, around the room. Um, or does she like hold out her hand and like magic, it like radiates like around her? I think there's a way that you can help create deeper imagery for what the magic looks like. Oh, that's not a bad idea as well, Cindy. Like have the timeless beauty show her in ancient ways using magic. That could work as well. That might take a little bit more development. And it kind of depends on what comes after this chapter and what precedes it. So, but that could definitely be an idea. Her words vividly evoked a world where magic was not just a figment of imagination, but a tangible force. With its towering skyscrapers and bustling streets, the city suddenly seemed like a vast, unexplored territory filled with wonders and dangers alike. Interesting. Interesting. So I stood at the window, gazing at the sprawling city of Los Angeles. The twinkling lights reflected on my name, and I have always felt a strange pull, as if So I think the only thing I wasn't clear about is this magical world that she's creating, Christina? Is this Los Angeles that she just created, or is this like another world? And I think just clarifying that, because you touch upon Los Angeles in the very beginning and you touch upon LA at the end, but when you say with its hidden magic and ancient secrets, this makes me think that she's talking about Los Angeles. But if Cleopatra is standing in Los Angeles right now, then is this Timeless Beauty showing like another magical world? So I think just to clarify if she's referring to Los Angeles, or if she's like showing like an aura and an image of like, oh, this whole other magical ancient world that's beyond your belief and understanding. So I would say just clarify that. Awesome. But I feel pretty good about that. So I'm pretty happy with that. That's all that I got for you, my friend. Awesome. So what a great story. Thank you so much for submitting that, Christina. I think that was definitely a really good little excerpt. I'm kind of intrigued on this magical world. I like the Timeless Beauty. I think that chick was definitely my favorite so far. Ooh, I kind of like that as well, my bad. You're saying the ancient woman holds her hand out, letting a fire erupt above her hand, or something close to that. So awesome. Yeah, thanks, Christina. Definitely looking forward to reading more. So thank you, especially because you said it's fantasy and romance. So I'm kind of curious where the romance. Maybe she's gonna meet like some hunky guy in this in Los Angeles, or in this world that she's about to go to. So I'm very intrigued. Mm. All right. So very exciting. And as we have surpassed the 3-hour mark, I think that's where I'm going to call the critiques today. But I feel like we were able to get into a good number of critiques. And for those of you who submitted a story and we didn't get to it, your story will be queued up for the next critique stream on Saturday, March 22nd. So definitely make sure to submit down in the link if you want to make sure to try to get your story in for the next stream. And as we look towards creative writing on the morrow, are you enjoying the stream? And you don't want to keep like the stream, you want to it's like I'm mixing up my words. Clearly Kauffman's ready for a breather. Are you looking for something to watch next? Go check out the Reading Sprints for Storytellers playlist. It's linked down in the YouTube description down below. This is a highlight of our previous story and critique show episodes. So definitely go check out the Reading Sprints for Storytellers playlist, link down below. This is the 38th episode of the Story and Critique Show. And like I said, I've done well over 200 live critiques now. So definitely worth checking out if you want to check out more. And most importantly, don't forget to like this stream if you enjoyed it. If you got value, tap that like button on your way out. Help us show the algorithms that writing streams are cool. All right, my friends, I'll be back tomorrow for, let's see, tomorrow's Sunday. Tomorrow's going to be a daily writing sprint stream. So we're going to be getting some writing in on the weekends. I'll see if maybe I might go a little longer. I'm setting up I have to finish the setup for the grizzly bear character in the dark fantasy action venture in The Last Scarecrow. So I'm doing the grizzly bear setup gore. So we'll see. I have a lot of progress to make. So yeah, I'll be back tomorrow, 1 p.m. Pacific, 2, 3, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern. I'll be here, and hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much, Cindy. Definitely thanks for dropping by. I always love seeing other Twitch friends finding us, and hopefully I'll see you around the stream since we stream daily. But unfortunately, that brings us to the end of the stream. Don't forget, words are wind, but stories are forever. I'm Kauffman, and I'll catch you on the morrow. Stay creative, writers.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Because it's